Thumbtack presents Uncertainty Strikes. I was surrounded. The aisle and the options were closing in. There were paint rollers, satin and matte finish, angle brushes, and natural bristles. There were too many choices. What if I never got my living room painted? What if I couldn't figure out what type of paint to use? What if I just used Thumbtack? I can hire a top-rated pro that knows everything about interior paint, easily compare prices, and read reviews. Thumbtack knows homes. Download the app today.
Looking for music that lifts your spirit and fills your heart? Experience the powerful sound of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square. Now streaming on all your favorite music platforms. Find the Tabernacle Choir on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Pandora. Let the music of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square inspire you today and every day. Whether you're at home, in the car, or on the go, enjoy the beauty of their world-renowned sound anytime. The Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, streaming now.
What?
Oh!
What is it?
One of my favorite shows. I love that show.
TGIF.
Good morning, everyone. Friday, finally, the weekend is here.
It is?
Oh, well, not here yet, but it's almost here.
Close enough.
Oh, in that case.
Who's ready to party?
Let's get this party started.
It's showtime.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Friday morning. The games just keep coming. As expected, there's no way Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final was going to match Game 4 of the NBA Finals. That was just too weird and crazy. 36 hours ago at Madison Square Garden. But Carolina did get the win, and the games just keep coming. They're up 3-2. We've got the World Cup underway yesterday. The U.S. and Canada, the other two hosts, along with Mexico, will open up today. U.S. tonight at 7 o'clock. The NBA is back at it tomorrow night with Game 5 in San Antonio. The NHL is back Sunday night. You see a pattern here. It's just games, one game after another. Keep them coming. Just keep them coming. As far as last night's hockey game, Carolina at home, it feels like they're the better team, and they should be the better team, although it's been a wild and crazy series, so it hasn't necessarily played out that way at 2-2. It's been pretty even. But after the Golden Knights got the first goal in the power play, Carolina scored 4 in a row, and they end up winning 4-2. And Vegas tried to rally. They got the second goal late. They were on a they had like 4 or 5 minutes left. They hit the post, about 4 minutes left, I think, trying to get it to 4-3 and give themselves a chance, but hit the post and it stayed out, and that was it, and Carolina wins 4-2. So they're up 3-2 now, and they'll be back at it with Game 6 in Vegas Sunday night. As far as the basketball, we spent a little time on this yesterday, but, New York fans throwing an egg at Wembanyama, and he just takes and just keeps walking. I suspect they get a bounce-back game at home. They've already lost 2 home games. I wouldn't think they lose 3 in a row at home. They win, and then it feels like it all comes down to Game 6. If New York wins at home, they celebrate at home in front of their fans. It's awesome. It's a great scene, and they got their first title in more than half a century, which – New York kind of bugs me as someone who grew up on the western side of the country. But the truth is, the star player, I don't see how you don't root for Jalen Brunson. We usually like smaller guys, and he left Dallas and bet on himself. And, he's I think he's a pretty easy guy to like. I don't know if he's an easy guy to like. I like Karl Anthony Towns. I really like Mike Brown, too. I've seen that guy, be under a ton of pressure in New York, be under a ton of pressure when he had LeBron in Cleveland. Go to Sacramento, which, if you want to be a head coach, I guess you have to take the job, but yikes, what a bad job. And get run there unfairly, but that's how it always happens in Sacramento. So, yeah, I think, if they were in any other town, it'd be really easy to like them. But it's New York, and New York just creates a visceral reaction. You love it or you hate it. They're so big. They're so loud. They're so in your face. Not all the national media, but a lot of the national media is openly rooting for them. This is the weirdest thing. So we'll see how that plays out. And then we got the World Cup tonight. And, the U.S. should win their group. U.S. has been to the round of 16 4 times in the last 6 cups. And the only 2 times they've missed, one, they didn't qualify, and the other time it was in Europe. When the cup goes to Europe, I mean, Europe is basically the size of the United States, and the European countries are all basically the size of one or two states. So they're basically playing at home. You know, they don't have to travel that far. There's not that much change in time zones or a change in climate, and it's close enough their fans can get there. So they tend to overperform, and that squeezes out other teams like the United States. So I think the U.S. is at a point where they are one of the top 16 teams in the world. They've only been in the quarterfinals one time in the last, 60 years. And that was in 2002 when it was in Asia, and Japan and South Korea hosted, and the U.S. beat Mexico in round of 16. Usually you do better when you're at home, and you ride that energy. France and England famously rode it to titles. Germany rode it to the semifinals, as did South Korea. And so you're expected to make, if you're not winning it, you're expected to make a deep run when you're hosting. And that usually holds form, not always, but usually. And so in this case, I think the United States, getting back to the 16, that's kind of same old. If they're in the round of 16 for the fifth time in the last 7 games, that's kind of been the standard, and you got to do better at home. So the goal has to be quarterfinals. Now, if they can do better than that, great, but they need to get to the quarterfinals. They're at home. They need to go further. And, they haven't looked great in the run-up. They did look better in their last 2 tune-ups here. This group has several teams that are decent, and it wouldn't be a surprise if any of them advanced. And, the top 2 advance, plus several third-place teams are going to advance. So it's pretty generous here with a 48-team tournament. The U.S. has to not only get out of the group, they need to win it so that they get a fairly easy matchup in the round of 32. And then that puts them in the 16 with a tough game, and we see if they can go further than they normally do. That would be the plan, and the plan involves winning tonight, 7 o'clock on Big Fox. All right, DJ and PK, we got to take a break with all the basketball, the hockey, and the soccer, and the games coming one after another. Stay with us. Coming up, we've got more ahead here. Brian Geltzeiler talking hoops. Matt Brown, really good interview with Matt Brown. We talked with him yesterday. A lot of takes on Texas Tech, and if Texas Tech isn't the team in the Big 12, who is? And how is this going to play out with Texas Tech, with a guy who's gambled dozens and dozens and dozens of time, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and he's only going to sit for 2 games. We'll talk with Matt Brown next. Stay with us.
Hey, it's your ceiling vent, so I'm dripping. Could be the rain, could be the upstairs bathroom. Yikes. You could hire the guy your neighbor recommended, but I'm pretty sure that's just his cousin. Do we know if he's licensed, or does he just own a ladder?
Listen to your home. Go with Thumbtack. Upload a photo or voice note and we'll diagnose your project and match you with the right pro for the job. Thumbtack. We know homes. Hire the right pro today.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're joined by Matt Brown, founder and publisher of the Extra Points newsletter covering college football. Matt, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, fellas.
Thanks for coming on. We've had you on before. We follow the stuff you do. We see all the stuff on social media, people referencing stuff you do. We probably have about 100 different things we could ask you about. We could keep you here the rest of the show. But if we don't ask you about Texas Tech right out of the gate, we are completely losing the plot. What did you think initially when you heard the court decision? Were you just absolutely flabbergasted? Or were you more shocked when you heard how hard Texas Tech people are defending it?
It's a little of all of the above. So when I heard about this, I was at NACDA, which is this gigantic conference of athletic directors and people that work in college sports, and this huge industry gathering. And there's loads of people who work in the Big 12 and across college sports at this event. And I could see, like with my own eyes and ears, people who are not prone to profanity or who are not prone to anger being more viscerally upset about this decision than anything I can remember in my career. Like more than Michigan sign stealing, more than any of the other specific athletic scandals. I mean, I'm putting Baylor and Penn State aside as something completely different, but a lot of legitimate fury about this. I am a little surprised to see how quickly and how publicly institutions like Nebraska Nebraska and Georgia and potentially the Big Ten and SEC are saying we don't want to play these guys anymore. But that isn't something that's really happened over the last couple of decades. But the overwhelming sense that I got from talking to ADs about this over the last 2 days, which is a lot of what I've been doing, is I cannot believe that a judge ruled this, and I cannot believe even more that Texas Tech thinks it's okay. If this is not the line that we can all agree on, then clearly one does not exist.
Oh, come on, Matt. It's not like they murdered anybody.
You know, that line of whataboutism was not effective when I would give that to youth ecclesiastical leadership or my parents when I was a teenager. And I think when you're pulling that out, it is a sign that you really did do something wrong. That's something that you might expect from a congressman who's been caught cheating on a spouse, or not some kind of principled defensive behavior. I think that is ridiculous, and quite frankly, somebody who works in higher education should know better.
A lot of people would like a way out right now. What is the easiest way out? Or forget easy way out, embrace the more difficult, hard way out. Oh, what do you think?
There are no easy ways, right? And there's no easy ways, I think, about any of these existential questions that we've been talking about in college sports these last couple of years. If there were easy ways, we definitely would have done them now. One of the hard ways is the Big 12 Conference Office and Big 12 presidents and ADs have to get together and decide what kind of legal exposure are we comfortable with, knowing that there's a billionaire with lots of time on his hands on the other side of the table to try to enforce something. The NCAA may be barred from by a court or a legal order from saying the guy can't play, but that doesn't mean the Big 12 can't say that, or the university can't say that. And so that's one potential angle here. But if you throw that out the door, there aren't any easy solutions. And mass collective action could very well be brought with other lawsuits. I know the popular talking point right now is like, well, if we had just passed this Protect College Sports Act, none of this would be happening because the NCAA would have the authority to be able to make this ban and there'd be no problems. I have talked to some attorneys that work in this world and a congressional staffer, and there's some doubt even about that because this is about a private contract, not necessarily about NCAA regulatory rights. I really don't think there's an easy way out of all of this beyond somehow the hearts of man changing and realizing, maybe I shouldn't be betting 900 times a day on professional sports or on the teams that I'm involved with.
Yeah, for sure. If we extrapolate in terms of this kid actually playing, what does that mean? What would open the door, sort of a box, Pandora box for training now, or not training, gambling, I should say, going forward? Because where do you draw the line?
I legitimately, I think there is no line so long as you are financially prepared and have a jurisdiction to sue over it, right? I saw one of the Big 12 football coaches, I think a little bit facetiously saying, well, we're going to have to bring in some guys from Vegas and teach our guys how to gamble, and we'll kind of decide as a collective when we're going to play hard or not so we can maximize the spread because it's my job to prepare our athletes and help them. That, I think it's a little ridiculous, but what this will show is that any rule, meaning as long as you're not breaking federal law, is not really able to be enforced. There are lots of practical reasons why betting on your team or betting on college football, if you are a college football player, is very stupid and psychologically could mess with your performance, but not any real penalty, again, so long as you don't commit wire fraud. I don't know how widespread athlete behavior would be for this, but what really worries me, and I've said this in Extra Points, and I've said this on the air, and I know this is not a super controversial take in this market, but I am legitimately way more worried about gambling as an existential threat to college football than I am about anything about budgets, NIL, player compensation, labor classification, or the law. Because as soon as a meaningful number of fans no longer feel like every game is on the up and up, there's no more industry. And everything else can be difficult and challenging, but there are solutions to it. If people don't trust the product, you're back to boxing, which has been mostly irrelevant in mainstream American culture now for the last 70 years.
I wonder, and I don't think it's likely, but I wonder if there is somebody with a longer range vision in Sorsby's camp. I mean, he wants to play this year and get the $5 million. He probably, like every other college player, wants to play in the NFL. The NFL has to be watching this hubbub and think, oh, we are going to draw a line when he comes to us. We're not getting sucked into this. And they've shown that they, because they've got the collective bargaining agreement and the antitrust stuff, they can and have suspended people before. If you're playing the long game for the NFL, if you think you're that good, and there's probably a question about whether he's that good or not, but you could go to the NFL right now and say, hey, I'm thinking about not playing. This is too much. What's the deal? Have his lawyer set up. You're going to suspend him for a year. We'll just take it. We'll say all the right things and make you look good. He's going to have to sit out at some point anyway, and it might set him up better in the NFL. And NFL teams might think, oh, well, the kid's really growing up here and realizes he has a problem. I need to focus on myself for the next year. Yeah, I've got the legal right to do this, and I have a hard time believing after going all the trouble of doing this that they'll do anything other than try to play. But I do think the NFL's waiting, and they're going to drop the hammer.
Yeah, I think the argument that you're making here, I think, could have very plausibly made sense 2 months ago. Yeah. But my understanding is that the deadline to file for the supplemental draft and whether we're going to have one or not is already passed. It would have been plausible to say, I'm going to take the year off, I'm going to work out, I'm going to stay in the hospital, and I'm going to see if the Browns will trade a third-round pick in the supplemental draft to take me, and I'll prepare that way. The cynical answer, I think, is, there's going to be concerns about the NFL, but we've seen a lot of people in the NFL who have done way worse things than this get picked highly and given extensions and given leeway. The question is how good you are. And I actually do think there is something to the idea that even if Sorsby is a top 8 NFL quarterback prospect in his class, maybe higher, that the psychological toll of all of this and then the enormous pressure and bullseye that's going to be on his back whenever he plays could damage his stock significantly. Because it's one thing to say, to get drafted in a hypothetical potential. But then if your last year of college tape is bad, if Texas Tech with their schedule, which is certainly not very strong, performs worse than they did last year, then you're looking at I made $5 million this year, and now I'm a 5th-round pick, and I'm on the Buccaneers or something. I don't have much of a career. That's the gamble. $5 million is a lot of money to turn down, though, especially given how much you might have lost in gambling.
Cody Campbell, the Texas Tech billionaire booster, chairman of the regions and all that stuff, he views himself as sort of a statesman in terms of reforming college athletics and has access to people that most folks don't have. But through this, I think it's damaging his reputation and, most importantly, his credibility. What do you think?
Unquestionably, right? Like this is not a secret, and I'm saying this as someone who's covered the political developments of the Protect College Sports Act pretty closely. I've talked to a lot of staffers on the Republican and Democratic side preparing that bill. Campbell's influence was massive. I mean, I'm not saying he wrote the thing, but his voice was recognized more than anybody else's. And because he has more money than most of these senators to put out television ads and to lobby, he is enormously connected with these college reform efforts. Ones that I think, if they happen, will disproportionately benefit schools like Texas Tech. And there was a time when I think you could claim, I may be in favor of Texas Tech, but I'm not as conflicted as the Big Ten or the SEC or some of these other lawmakers. I can't be bought. Whatever kind of credibility you want to have as a statesman goes out the door when you show up on Dan Dakich's show and try to insinuate that the college football world is angry because they want to keep Texas Tech down and that they would somehow excuse this behavior from LSU. Like, that's the kind of stuff that you would expect to see on one of the bad 247 message boards.
Yeah, it's fan stuff.
This is not something that you expect from a guy who's trying to do something very difficult,
right? Which
is thread a complicated bill through one of the most politically divided times since the Civil War, and to get 60 votes. I think it'll be easier for someone to look and say, you know what, this guy can go to hell, and ignore it because of the stuff that he's doing here. So one of the difficult things about being a billionaire in this country is that no one is around you to put their arm around you and say, I love you. You need to log off.
Yeah.
And that's what he's doing. He refuses to log off.
Yeah, he just comes across as a fanboy.
And I know a lot of stuff, things can change quickly in sports, but right now I just get the feeling like, forget influence. I don't think anybody wants to be in a room with him. I mean, I'm talking other presidents, other ADs. I don't think I think they're. It goes back to what you said earlier about that visceral reaction people had. People who don't swear are swearing. People who don't get loud get loud. People who don't get angry. I don't even think they want to be in a room with them. I think the influence is gone.
Yeah, it's the money in this isn't a partisan statement, right? But like if you have enough money in politics, people who really don't like you will find a way to swallow their pride and show up for a picture or a dinner. But the last 48 hours have not crowned him, and for that matter, I think the university in glory. You look at what Kirby Hocutt put out as his official statement. He's the athletic director, and it's like, I recognize that people feel really conflicted about this. It's difficult. We want to support this young man. He needs structure, trying to be kind of more high-minded and professional. And then you got your football coach saying, I didn't kill anybody. And then you've got your booster, regent / owner saying, like, y'all are just haters. I'll see you in court. It kind of undermines any kind of high-minded argument that they're trying to make,
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think if the Big 12 can come up with some form of suspension that is certainly stiffer and more penalized than 2 games that they'll win if I'm quarterback, if they can do that, and then Texas Tech continues to fight it, which is what they're basically saying, that the public then is going to view this as, well, we are trying to win football games at all costs, and whatever the crap you do, we're not going to let you do it, because the essence isn't to help a young man, it's to win football games. And their message then becomes worse and worse the longer this goes, and maybe they might say, my gosh, we are running up against this here. Sorsby, sorry, son. We want to help you, but it's just not worth it, because what's going to do to our rep and our integrity as a football program and a university is going to take a major hit. And we're already buying most of our team. And last year it was just their defense. They literally had guys that were most of the guys were just there for one season. And we had a kid, a producer who served his mission in Lubbock, and he said nobody goes to Lubbock on purpose. They go for reasons, whether you're called there or you're lured there by the money. So the point being, in a roundabout way, is Texas Tech is going to look bad the longer they try to resist efforts to not have this happen.
I'm sure that's true. I think the cynical answer here, though, is we have a lot of years of data to show that a lot of institutions are willing to make that gamble and say, so what? The public gets mad at them, and then they'll either eventually find something else to be mad at, or it doesn't matter because the banner hangs.
Right, but this is gambling, though. This is the one sacred cow that you cannot violate.
Yeah, well, that would be what every athletic director in this conference thinks, and many coaches, and We'll see. I think many other institutions would have reached the exact same conclusion that you just described there. Texas as a whole is different. If there's one thing generational Texans really do not like, it is being told what to do by somebody who is not in Texas. Regardless of, even if it's like, hey, go brush your teeth. Like, no, screw you. I don't let my teeth rot out. Go Texas. There's a little bit of that. A little bit of that here, too, and they think that they have an opportunity to not only win a championship, but potentially put themselves in position to be in a super league, right? That if you don't win now, you're risking existential harm because, like you said, you don't go to Lubbock on purpose. West Texas is beautiful, but it's also kind of like Mars, and that you're not in this massive television market like other places. I don't agree with that thinking. But if you're already this pot committed, I can understand why somebody associated with that program would just say, screw it. Lord knows that people at LSU have made that calculation before. People at Baylor have made that calculation, Michigan, Ohio State. It's certainly not unique to Texas Tech.
I do wonder, and you make a very good point about Texas and Texas's attitude towards the rest of the world. I got a friend from college living in Dallas now, and I've got a family on my wife's side from there. That's not the first time I've heard something like that said. Yeah. So I totally back you up on that, but I do wonder inside of Texas. And back to your earlier point about there's no one to tell a billionaire to log off. I don't know Texas politics, but running the Board of Regents there, do you answer to the governor or the state legislature who might have ties to Texas or Texas A&M? Is there literally someone who can tell Cody and Texas Tech, hey, knock it off? Or maybe there isn't. Maybe they really are, a country unto themselves out there in West Texas.
I think it's a little bit more the latter. The only exception would be, this is a little bit of an open secret around Washington, that Campbell's dream job is to replace Ted Cruz and then win and become the next senator from Texas and be an heir to a new kind of conservative populist lawmaker. And if that is your true biggest goal, then yes, I could see some other people on the other side of the state saying like, hey, man, do you want to make every single Republican mega donor in Dallas hate your guts? Because that's a great way to not win anything. But if that isn't your ultimate goal, if your ultimate goal is just glory to Red Raider Nation, yeah, I don't think the governor, lieutenant governor, the Space Force, and anybody, I don't think it can really make you stand down unless it's the money in Lubbock, and he's got quite a bit of it.
If Texas Tech gets really beaten up and every time they go on the road and this is a massive distraction and somehow they screw this up, who stands to benefit in the Big 12 on the field this year?
Yeah, that is actually a really good question, because both the fun thing about this league and the potentially frustrating thing about this league is the difference between the best team and like the ninth team is way smaller than it is in any other power conference. I would imagine on the field it seems like the general sports writer consensus is that BYU and Utah are going to be or should expect to be in conversation for the 2, 3, 4 spot in this league. And if Texas Tech stumbles, they could be in a position to compete. But if we wanted to sit here, and this is pre-media day and trying to figure out the too deep for everywhere, if you wanted to passionately argue for one of the Arizonas or for a different institution, I guess really anybody other than Cincinnati, I think I would say sure, I'd listen. There's very few teams in this league that I would say, oh, there's no chance that they have a potential to compete, especially after what we saw with Arizona State 2 years ago, when I think there was a good argument like this should be one of the 5 worst teams in the Power 4, and they made the playoff and almost beat Texas.
Matt, we will leave it right there. We appreciate the time and all the energy and passion. Thanks for joining us. And people can check you out. Extra Points newsletter covering college football. He is Matt Brown, the founder and publisher. Thanks, Matt.
Yep, you bet. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
There's Matt Brown. When we come back, one of our favorites, Brian Geltzeiler, with rock-solid takes on the NBA Finals. Stay with us.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Brian Geltzeiler joined us yesterday to talk about the NBA Finals and that wild Game 4 in New York. So some of the time references off as he drops last night almost immediately. But his takes on the game, I thought, largely spot on. Just spot on. We saw it the same way. I totally believe the stuff he's about to tell you. Here's Brian Geltzeiler at PK and I.
In terms of a critical analysis of it, where do you start?
Well, all right. So, listen, I thought the Knicks played the worst defensive half of basketball. They maybe played all season. Forget the playoffs. They maybe played all season. The lack of attention to detail in the first half was galling. The way that their weak side defenders were, leaning into the paint a little too much and not closing out aggressively on the Spurs shooters, they got punished very badly for them. I mean, the volume. I actually think Vassell just hit another open three. I mean, they just kept them wide open the entire half, and again, it was all in the name of chipping on Wemby, but that didn't even work well. Like, it was a disgusting display of defense by the New York Knicks in the first half. Whatever they talked about in the locker room, the adjustments they made. Number one, they cut off all the Spurs driving. Let's keep in mind, Spurs 76 points in the first half, 30 points in the second half. Okay, they sealed them on driving lanes, all right, and they closed out on shooters on the weak side. And that took advantage of the Spurs' immaturity, because the number one reason the San Antonio Spurs are down 3-1 in the series, and we can give the Knicks all their flowers, Okay, but they also have won 2 games by 1 point apiece that took catastrophic mental errors from the San Antonio Spurs to get the Knicks those wins. The number one reason the San Antonio Spurs are losing the series 3-1 right now is for the volumes of time that they forget that they have Victor Wembanyama on their team on the offensive end of the floor. And you have guys taking 1-pass threes. Champagny had a 3 towards the end of the third quarter. And I tweeted this out at the time, guys. You keep taking those kinds of threes in transition, and it led to a long rebound and an easy Brunson transition layup. You keep taking those kinds of threes, you're going to get a Knicks an engraved invitation to be back in the game. And that is exactly what happened. It was a mental and emotional meltdown for the San Antonio Spurs. A lot of that is on that coaching staff. It really is. And I think Mitch Johnson's done a fantastic job throughout these playoffs. I do not think he did a fantastic job last night in the second half of that game. Misuse of timeouts. I didn't think Harper was in there for enough minutes at certain points in time. Just a gross lack of discipline. Here's the other thing. Okay, they did such a good job in Game 3 of harassing Jalen Brunson and bringing the ball up the floor with Castle and Harper doing that. Can somebody on that side explain to me that you ended up with Vassell and Champagny spending so much time on Brunson in the fourth quarter? And listen, Mike Brown, I give him all the credit in the world, and I thought he was going to do this with either McBride or Alvarado, whoever was playing better. And McBride was terrible, so he did it with Alvarado. He actually had an extra ball handler on the floor and sacrificed shooting to be able to help Brunson out, getting the ball up the floor if he needed it, and he didn't need it. Here's the other thing. How is OG Anunoby able to get the open looks he's getting when the Knicks played the majority of the fourth quarter with 2 non-shooters on the floor with Hart and Alvarado? And I know Alvarado did hit a 3 late. Alvarado was terrific down the stretch of that game. But you can't exploit the Knicks better than that and have 2 non-shooters and load up on Brunson and Anunoby. I just thought the Spurs, the meltdown emotionally and mentally went from the coaching staff directly to the roster, to the players. And De'Aaron Fox was supposed to be the veteran influence with the mistake of mistakes, not dribbling that ball out. Listen, OG had 3 transition blocks over the last 2 games. He thought he had a good 3 steps ahead of him. Just the fact that OG was even in the backcourt with him would have indicated dribble the ball out and make him chase you. He could have, listen, if he got away from Anunoby, he could have killed the entire rest of the clock and the Spurs win that game. So it was a variety of things, but that's kind of my synopsis, boys.
Sure.
I thought it was brilliant. And you always think that smart people, whenever you identify someone, that person's really smart, you can always go back and, well, that's because they agree with you. And I agree with everything you just said. You just checked out so many boxes. PK and I were looking at each other and nodding like, yep, we've talked about that this morning. Yep. I thought that whoever lost, with about 2 minutes to go, and I think it was right after an atrocious turnover by Fox, just floating the ball back into the middle of the court at midcourt, which I did in the 9th grade and got pulled from the game for. Yep. And then Hart blew the layup at the other end and didn't make him pay for it. I thought whoever loses this game is going to rue the dozens of blatant mistakes that have been made, and whoever wins will just forget about that and go, whew, got out of there with a W, thank goodness. It was entertaining basketball, but it was super sloppy, and both teams had stretches where they were atrocious. And I think you just checked a lot of those boxes for both those teams.
Yeah, and listen, Hart should be thanking his lucky stars, okay?
Yeah.
Josh Hart, go buy OG Anunoby an expensive watch, okay? Because when he was able, he took Hart off the griddle. Because you talked about the missed layup. How about the missed box out on Castle and he had a foul?
Yeah.
And that's not Josh Hart. Josh Hart is one of the best rebounding wings in the league. And that's just a for lack of a better term, a brain fart at the worst possible time. And Castle, a second-year player, 21 years old, goes to the free throw line in that atmosphere in Madison Square Garden and drains those 2 free throws like they're nothing. And I want to go back to that point for this reason, guys, because, listen, this series is still 3-1, okay?
Checking another box.
The Knicks have to win a 4th game to win the NBA championship. 2 of those games, I'm going to go back to it again, were 1-point victories. Castle was unflappable in that spot. This whole notion, and you're hearing it from a ton of Knicks fans this morning, that the Knicks somehow permanently broke the Spurs last night. If the Knicks believe that, that is a very naive thing to believe. This is a mentally tough team that is new to this scene, but they are not going to give in. Did you see some clown last night threw an egg and hit Victor Wembanyama in the head walking into his hotel after the game last night? Okay, all right. Did you see how Wembanyama reacted? He didn't. He just kept walking. This team. The Spurs are going to come out angry, determined, focused, and I think they could beat the Knicks by double digits in Game 5, and you come back to the Garden 3-2 for a Game 6. I am not shoveling dirt on the San Antonio Spurs in any way, shape, or form right now. They're too talented. They're too good. They are in this spot in this series because they haven't been smart, and that's something that I think gets improved on. This I can promise you. Today's a travel day. Tomorrow, the Spurs will assemble at their facility, and I can promise you one guy will spend some time talking to that entire team about their mindset and where they need to be going into Game 5, and that'll be Greg Popovich, because he's going to try to impart some of his experience that he's had over the years in these spots to some of these guys, and he will get a captive audience from this group. I don't think the Spurs are mentally weak in spite of blowing that lead last night. I think that they made a mountain of mistakes. They got away from what they were doing well, and they got away from what their strength is, which is running everything through their big guy, no matter what area of the floor. I don't even care if he has it on the perimeter. They just have to run everything through the big guy. They got away from him once again for long stretches. And then when they went back to him, he played nervous. And one guy that we haven't mentioned yet, and we have to mention, is Karl Anthony Towns, who I think I don't even look at his box score. What he is able to do defensively and has done against Wembanyama in this series is another major reason the Knicks are up 3-1. And in the second half last night, he did a super job guarding him. The Spurs had him in foul trouble and did not attack in the second half. The game changes when Towns goes to the bench. Mitchell Robinson hasn't guarded Wembanyama close to as well as Towns has, and Anunoby really can't do it either, although he's doing the best he can. When he does, the Spurs they should have absolutely been pounding the ball to Wembanyama with Towns on him, trying to get Towns over to the bench. The other thing that's important, Karl Towns on that inbound, and give Mike Brown credit for putting his 7-footer on the inbounder. Dylan Harper's pass, that, by the way, if Towns doesn't tip that pass, Castle's got a alley-oop layup to win that
look
game.
like it, yeah.
The play worked, guys. The back screen was set. Robinson didn't get through it, and Castle was alone. Towns got a hand on that pass. Because he got a hand on that pass, Hart was able to catch up in the switch. And to me, listen, that kind of stuff I think is absolutely crucial here. The Spurs were that close to being able to win that game, and that's something that they have to take with them to go over to Game 5 in San Antonio on Saturday night.
The one thing that bothered, well, there's several, but one thing that did bother me, and I've seen this repeatedly, is that the teams get casual offensively, right? Obviously, in the first half, they were blistering hot. Good for them. But the reality is that that's hard to sustain for 48 minutes, because if you do, you're going to win by 50, and we rarely see that, right? And so I didn't, and we've talked about this, DJ and I didn't like settling for threes, particularly early in the shot clock in the second half. Find a way, then, if it's 29, instead of going to the lead I'm talking about, instead of going to 49, how about go to 39? And I just don't like the settling, I think, is the word I would use for threes the entire game. If you had a stretch, good for you. But maybe look, and I think you alluded to it, get offense running through the big man, get better shot selection. If for no other reason, that's going to take more time off the clock, and the clock is your ally in that point. So I have to criticize the shot selection by and large in the second half, because I didn't think it allowed the Spurs to really put their feet on the Knicks' throat.
No, I think it's a great point. And listen, the concept that I go to and I think about here, and it's not just in NBA basketball. You see this concept on every level. I see it with my son in AAU and high school basketball. The concept of the heat check, guys. The concept of a hot shooter that thinks because he's a hot shooter, he can take whatever shots he wants. Most times, that's not good. That works against a team and against team basketball. The Spurs had several heat check guys that hit a bunch of threes in the first half. Harper, Vassell, Champagny, and they took some bad shots in the second half. That whole concept of the heat check is very, very damaging, and normally happens when you have a big lead. And normally when everybody gets going on a heat check and decides they're going to take bad shots, it invites the losing team back into the game, as it did with the Knicks last night. And that was a big thing. Here's the second thing that it's important to understand also, guys. the art of tempo control has been lost somewhere along the lines here. When you are up in a game like that, part of playing an intellectually smart and winning basketball game is knowing when to run and knowing when to walk, knowing when to walk the ball up the floor, knowing when to understand that using 18 to 20 seconds of a shot clock has a net benefit for you in the third quarter of a game that you're up 29 points. Don't start to play fast and loose and feel full of yourself. Humility is so important on a basketball court. One of the reasons I invoked Popovich earlier on, it's Greg Popovich has an old saying about your mentality when you play basketball. He calls it an appropriate level of fear. And I think the Spurs lost they didn't have enough fear. They didn't understand the discipline that they had to continue to play with once shots didn't fall. It was almost like once shots aren't falling. Like it's a classic example, live by the three, die by the three. But here's the thing about the Spurs last night. They didn't have to die by the three. When you have Victor Wembanyama on your team, you don't ever have to die by the three. And they died by the three.
There are people who believe that fatigue has been a major problem for the Spurs, that they played a 7-game conference final that was super intense, while meanwhile the Knicks were blowing through a sweep that looked like it was over at some point during Game 2. And that the Spurs' only win in the NBA Finals so far has come when there were 3 days between games, from Friday to Monday, from Game 2 to 3. And that now it's going to be 3 days till the game on Saturday, 3 days till Tuesday, 3 days till Friday, and that this is going to be a major plus from the Spurs. The facts are what they are. Are you buying that they're going to be able to capitalize on these facts, this schedule, and this bonus rest that the schedule is giving them?
Certainly for Game 5, yes. I think there's something to that. I do. First of all, and I think there's something to that for this reason. I think you could make the case that fatigue cost them Game 1. They ran out of steam down the close of Game 1. Number 2, let's not forget Victor Wembanyama right now is playing more minutes than he's ever played in his entire basketball career. They played him 44 minutes last night, and I'm not faulting Mitch Johnson. It's all hands on deck. This is the NBA Finals. This is the time that you play him and you run him that way. But what's happened to him, which is interesting, is the energy he has to expend guarding Karl Anthony Towns makes him a less effective help defender. And that's a really important factor here. And that's why Knicks fans went crazy over what happened a minute into the game where Mitch Johnson, which I thought was an insane replay, but give him credit, it worked. But he challenged a call, a Towns-Wembanyama call. That really could have gone either way. I don't think the refs got it so terribly wrong in the way Knicks fans. I actually thought the first foul on Towns was a worse call, was a touch foul that didn't need to be called in the first possession of the game. That one could have gone either way. But the important point in all that is what it takes out of Wemby to have to guard Towns on the perimeter and then be what I like to call Brunson's mid-range shadow. He was SGA's mid-range shadow in the OKC series, but he's so helpful to the guy on the ball because he doesn't have to get that close to be a presence on guys like Brunson and SGA in the mid-range. And that, to me, has been the single reason that Brunson has had some struggles in this series. And listen, he was excellent the second half last night. There's no two ways about it. But he's played more bad quarters than good in this series, and that's been a big reason for it. But I also think having Wembanyama have to do all of that does wear him down a little bit. The extra day of rest, I think is huge for Wemby right now when he's in uncharted territory in terms of the amount of minutes that he's had to play. And listen, the Knicks look fresh as a daisy right now. Why do they look fresh as a daisy? They had the benefit of 2 8-game vacations in the middle of the playoffs. And by the way, it's not a gift, boys. They earned it. They swept teams. They had their foot on teams' throats, and they pressed down and finished them off. They earned that stuff, and you earn that stuff because it's a net benefit now at this stage of the playoffs. So I do think, yes, I think the fatigue thing becomes a little more equalized with the extra day off. I think there is something to that. And I will tell you guys this, and I know Knicks fans are going to think I'm insane. I'd be surprised if the Spurs don't win by double digits on Saturday night. I really do, and I think we're coming back for Tuesday night Game 6 at Madison Square Garden.
I'll throw a Jazz question at you. Bill Simmons got that Boston connection with the Angels in Boston, obviously, with their history there. And he's talking about he thinks they're going to draft Boozer. What do you think?
So, listen, on one hand, I think the Jazz should not worry about what position to draft and just draft the best player possible. Here's the one thing that I take pause at, and Cameron Boozer is going to be an excellent NBA player. And I think it's almost a lazy comparison to compare him to his father, because his father never had the perimeter game that he has, was never the passer or the ball handler that Cam Boozer is. Here's my issue with taking Cam Boozer in that spot. You're leaving two superior athletes on the board. And you're seeing it now, guys. It's as good as a guy like Jalen Brunson is, and he's incredible. OG Anunoby showed you what a high-end premium athlete could do last night in a big spot, okay? And that was an incredibly athletic play. Here's what I'm saying to you. You want. If you have a guy that combines the skill and athleticism, to me, that's always going to be more valuable and have more upside than getting a guy that has the skill level. And don't get me wrong, Boozer's not a bad athlete. He's a very good athlete. But Dybantsa, who probably won't be there, Caleb Wilson, Darren Peterson, they're all better athletes. They all are. And that's my concern there. That's my one concern with taking Boozer. Do I think Boozer's going to be a very good NBA player? I do. Do I think Boozer's going to be a superstar? Probably not. Do I think any one of those other three guys, and maybe two of those other three guys, could be superstars? I do. I believe that. And that's where I think that maybe if they do that, they're going to make a mistake. But here's the other thing I'm going to say regarding what Simmons had to say about that. And I listen to every Simmons podcast. I'm an enormous Bill Simmons fan, as you guys know. We're getting to the draft. So today is the 11th. The draft's in 12 days. All right, we're very close to getting to Danny Ainge lying time, okay, where Danny Ainge will not tell the truth as you get closer. Danny will float rumors out there of guys he's interested in to see who may come up behind him and say, hey, we want that guy. Maybe we'll give you something for him. Danny is the master, okay, of floating smoke screens this time of year. No one is better, okay? He pulled it with Tatum. He bluffed that whole draft and ended up getting an extra pick and trading out of number one when he was with Boston and got Tatum at 3. Danny's brilliant this time of year. So what I would say about all the Boozer buzz, and I'm hearing it too, take it with a grain of salt. And I understand that Danny's not the only decision maker there, but Austin, he comes from Danny's loins, boys, okay? And he's got the same type of instincts on what he's going to do, Austin Ainge. So I would caution that not to buy too far into the Boozer narrative. There's a big groundswell of Boozer support league-wide to be a top 2 pick in this draft. I think Danny's leaning into it a little bit to see if potentially it can net the Jazz some extra assets.
You may have crossed paths with Walt Perrin when he was working in New York. He was in Utah working for Kevin O'Connor. Did a lot of scouting. We rarely saw him during the season, but they would always run him out to do the media stuff leading up to the draft. And every time they do a workout, Kevin O'Connor would make the players available and make Walt available, even if Kevin wasn't. And Walt would ask all the time about the draft and reports, and he would just look at him. Liars Club is in session. He wouldn't wait for 2 weeks. He was right. Like 5 weeks before the draft. Liars Club is in session. What you hear might be true, but it might not be anywhere near the truth.
Who in their right mind is leaking the truth right now as you get this close to the draft, especially a draft where these top 4 picks are so incredibly valuable because of the players that are going to be taken. And listen, Danny Ainge, as far as the rest of these team presidents and general managers are concerned, Danny Ainge wrote that book. He did. He's the master of it. So I would, again, take all of it with a grain of salt. I'd even take it with a grain of salt at the top of the draft. I mean, you're hearing a lot of Wizards buzz that Dybantsa is going to be the guy. And maybe he is, and maybe he isn't. We have to see kind of what shakes out there, too. But I think you're getting there's definitely a lot of false information that's being floated in the thought of maybe motivating some teams to try to look to see to offer something. One thing I will say about this draft, guys, you may see some movement within the top 4 in terms of trading. No one is trading out of the top 4 of this draft. It will not happen.
I don't think I can find a draft where the top 4 guys, if you redrafted, were the top 4 guys. But is that going to happen this time? Are they really? There are no busts in the top 4? These 4 are all legit?
I don't think you're going to get a bust in this top 4. I know what people are saying about Darren Peterson. The people that are saying what they're saying about Darren Peterson haven't watched him long enough. Even with what happened in Kansas this year, he averaged over 20 points a game. He is as smooth a guard as we've seen come into this league since Kobe Bryant. And he can pass, he can shoot, he can guard. And I tell you, and I've told you guys this before, my partner Sam Mitchell coached him 3 different summers in AAU, knows Darren and his family very well. He will tell you straight out there is zero zero concern regarding Darren Peterson's competitive spirit. I know we heard the whole creatine thing and the cramping, and I think there was some of that was true. I think maybe it was dramatized a little bit, but I also think that he got an agent in his ear, and which let him know that this is a tune-up for much bigger money coming in the NBA, and you don't want to take any risk to knock you from the ability to be the number one overall pick in this draft. And I think that crept into his mentality too much. Listen, I didn't like that in the respect that Kansas paid plenty of money for him too. So like he owed them something there as well. My point being is I do think that so much of this with Peterson is overblown, and I think you can end up in a scenario where, these four guys all end up within 5 years being on one of the top 3 All-NBA teams. I think that all four of them have the potential to be that good.
He's Brian Geltzeiler. You hear him on SiriusXM NBA Radio, and you see him on NBAtv. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Always, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
All right, there's Brian Geltzeiler. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
Hey, it's your ceiling vent, so I'm dripping. Could be the rain, could be the upstairs bathroom. Yikes. You could hire the guy your neighbor recommended, but I'm pretty sure that's just his cousin. Do we know if he's licensed, or does he just own a ladder?
Listen to your home. Go with Thumbtack. Upload a photo or voice note, and we'll diagnose your project and match you with the right pro for the job. Thumbtack. We know homes. Hire the right pro today.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
It's unbelievable, tip, how he had to control it and tip it in from. I mean, like I said, that has to be the most iconic shot in the history of New York basketball. I mean, I'm not you guys know better than me, but it was just unbelievable.
Right hand from God.
Yeah.
Right hand to God. I mean, that's OG, though.
Yeah, he been doing this whole playoff run. Shout out to him for crashing the board and doing something special,
Man, that's what every time we in the game with OG, third quarter, second quarter, whatever, he may not be feeling like he's playing his best. Every time I talk to him, I say, I already know what OG Anunoby's going to do in the fourth quarter.
There's the Knicks head coach Mike Brown, Jose Alvarado, and Karl Anthony Towns talking about the tip-in. The most iconic play in the history of Knick basketball, PK. Certainly given the stage it was on, Game 4 of the NBA Finals, that gives it an advantage over other big plays that have happened along the way. But prisoner of the moment there, or you got something from your Jersey days?
Man, 1970, Game 7, Knicks and Lakers tied
Willis
3-3.
Reed limps onto the floor.
That's by far.
It's not a play, but it's a moment.
Sure, it's a basket. He made a basket.
Oh, okay, when he made the basket.
What do you mean it's not a play?
I always think of the limping on the floor story.
Well, you're
out there.
That adds to
moment.
the basket. The guy was playing on one leg. Remember Donovan Mitchell? He played on one leg.
Okay, you need to stop.
In the second round.
Stop making that noise.
Well, that's what you all did, and I'm thinking, gosh, what Donovan Mitchell? I got Willis Reed coming in. Oh, against Wilt Chamberlain. Who did Donovan Mitchell do it against? Terrence Mann? He's the author in the Field of Dreams. No offense. And who did OG? He did it. Big Vic was 5 feet behind him. Willis Reed, the captain. Get some history, Mikey. What are you talking about? My goodness. And Willis, I didn't want to look at myself in the mirror 20 years later and say I wish I had tried to play. He received painkiller injections in his thigh and then limped to the court during warm-ups. The crowd erupted. The same building, no less. You people. My goodness. And he pestered Chamberlain into multiple missed shots. Get out of town. This is the best. Yes.
Oh, gee,
and he only had 4 points and 3 rebounds in the game.
OG has been stepping it up here in the playoffs. He was 16-5 guy during the regular season and 21-9 now.
Oh, he's the MVP so far.
Yeah,
it's not over yet.
It's not, but he's crushing it here in this series for sure. Game 5's tomorrow night in San Antonio. The video is going viral if you haven't seen it. The fan throwing the egg at Victor Wembanyama. How fired up will Big Vic be with the season on the line?
This is the one time you can say he had egg on his face.
See, there you go. The cliche, life imitates art.
This is not a cliche.
It is not a cliche.
It is literal.
Off-day media availability, De'Aaron Fox, what were you thinking? I thought I'd be able to outrun him, Fox said when asked about the play. That's it. As explanations go, that was good. Don't give me some long, convoluted thing. I thought I was going to be able to beat him to the hoop. I didn't. He blocked the shot. He should have dribbled away, but, hey, you make a decision in the moment. It isn't always the right one. Certainly a lot of us were second-guessing as it happened, but...
Well, time is more important than score in that point. So even if he makes the layup, it's still a one-possession game.
It's a one-possession game because he puts the league at 3. They hit a 3. Now,
and
it's
get
hard
fouled, they win the game. Make the free throw.
See? Oh, speaking of that, we had so much to get to. I didn't get to. Are you sick of the flopping? Is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander watching this
10
series?
years ago?
Right. Is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander thinking, why is everyone picking on me? Karl Anthony Towns flinging him.
Wait, now he's a victim?
Flinging himself into the bench when he gets fouled on the three-pointer. Well, he thought he did. A little guy can't hit Karl Anthony Towns and send that big dude flying 7 feet into the bench. Come on. Physics doesn't work. The flopping's everywhere.
I agree.
All right, the game is tomorrow night, 6:30, but people are still talking trades. They're still talking draft. The latest mock draft from Kevin O'Connor at Yahoo Sports projects the Jazz taking Cameron Boozer with a second pick in the draft. That would line up with what you were telling us about Bill Simmons thinking, Danny Ainge is thinking wing. He's thinking wing. So Kevin O'Connor lines up with that.
I've known Kevin O'Connor for a long time. I didn't know he was in the draft business. I thought he'd retired.
Not that Kevin O'Connor. There's more than one Kevin O'Connor.
Well, he is the Kevin O'Connor.
This is Yahoo Sports Kevin O'Connor, not former Utah Jazz
Yahoo
executive
Sports
Kevin O'Connor.
Does he have a level of credibility?
He does. He's been around for a while doing this kind of stuff because I heard that name and got confused and thought what you thought and had to Google it and find out, yep, see, there's two different guys, same name.
You didn't have to. You chose to Google it.
No, I had to. I had a physical need.
I didn't feel like I had to.
Uh-huh.
No, I know he's not the same guy. And what is his reasoning behind it? We heard and we explained and we amplified what Bill Simmons was saying, not just throwing something out there. Bill Simmons went and had some reasoning, his reasoning. He wasn't saying necessarily it was fact, but he was giving an explanation as to why he said what he said. Does Kevin O'Connor say anything as to why he's predicting this?
Why don't we get into that in our next segment? We're going to talk draft. We got a David Locke question up there, so we'll do that as part of the...
God willing, I'll be here.
I think you will be. Other story we need to get into, the Celtics willing to make Jaylen Brown available in any Giannis trade. So hold on to that as well. We got plenty of NBA stuff to get to. DJ and PK.
#NFL.
The relationship is great. Ms. D, Jimmy, they were at my wedding. We talk all the time. He calls me whenever. It happens and things like that. One of my favorite baseball players that I've been watching is Bryce Harper. Sometimes he swings, but he stands back up and he gets another opportunity and he hits home run. So you never know what the opportunity might show up, and that's what I have right now.
Okay, I am now a Deshaun Watson big fan.
Because?
He's using baseball as an analogy. Bryce Harper, kid that I saw at 12 years old.
Use baseball analogies. Pull PK into your column.
Yes.
I'm lining up behind this guy and I'm following him.
He's following baseball.
There's a lot of baseball
stuff going on in his life.
Yeah. He was asked about criticism of or any conflict with Browns owner Jimmy Haslam and Deshaun Watson, whether this is just coming from him or whether he's been coached on it or whatever. Deshaun Watson's not in a place where he should be putting other people on blast. He's had enough issues. He's had enough problems. Hey,
I don't care about any of that.
Trying to get along with people.
It's all going forward.
Yeah.
He's going to follow Bryce Harper, who's one of the most intense players in all of sports.
Bryce Harper brings a football mentality to baseball. The amount of times you see Bryce in the dugout playing with sunflower seeds, putting gum on the back of somebody's cap or whatever. You know, you blow a bubble.
He
you
makes
stick on the
Kirk
back
Gibson look like a sissy.
He does. Kirk Gibson is a giggly little kid. He's soft compared to Bryce. Looks like he's ready to come out of the dugout and fight somebody who's charging the mound or something.
He's there to play bowl.
Yeah.
That's it. And he's there to win. So, yeah, absolutely, man. And now I hope Deshaun Watson gets his life in order. I guess he got married. He said the guys were at his wedding, and it's straight, and he has an opportunity to be healthy, and I hope he balls out.
There was a time, believe it or not, before all of the problems and all of the troubles and all of the accusations, all of the lawsuits and just all of the negativity, there was a time he was a dominant college quarterback, and early in his NFL career, it looked like the arrow was up. And
the arrow's still up. I'm not living in the past.
Yeah.
Let's look ahead.
It's been, I don't know, 4 years now?
You're still living in the past.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Time to get at least current. If you don't want to look to the future, how about
we'll
today?
see if he can win the Browns starting job. They've got a bunch of quarterbacks there.
They're going to have 15 of them, but he will.
And they better, whoever's going to seize that job better hurry up and seize it, because otherwise Cleveland's going to be in that quarterback draft pool next year. Finding the next big thing. Broncos gave Coach Sean Payton a new 5-year contract. That seems like a no-brainer. He has come into Denver, turned things around. Seems like the arrow is up there in his 3 years on the job there. Wide receiver Jalen Coker, the Panthers, 3-year, $35 million contract extension, and the Raiders wide receiver Henry Ruggs denied parole nearly 5 years after the fatal crash. He is still in prison and is going to remain there for a while. Bucs head coach Todd Bowles backing Baker Mayfield as a long-term quarterback in Tampa Bay amid contract talks. Baker wants to be paid. See how big a raise he wants. He's in the mid-30 millions. Does he want up into the 40s or into the 50s with the top 10 quarterbacks in the league?
Well, man, he's got to
Remains to be
live.
seen. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
So this was a Big 12 executive board call, a select group of presidents. Kansas President Doug Girard is the head of it, and there are also presidents from Kansas State, Arizona, and BYU. They met with Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark and legal counsel from the Big 12. They discussed potential options on how to punish Texas Tech or Brendan Sorsby in the wake of this injunction. Generally speaking, I was told that the options that the Big 12 was expected to discuss would be something individual for Sorsby, an additional suspension. He's obviously going to be suspended for the first 2 games, or some kind of punishment for Texas Tech. This is complicated. They're going to have to tangle legally with both Jeffrey Kessler, the state attorney general, and obviously Cody Campbell, the Texas Tech mega booster who has endless millions. I've been told by sources that the tenor from the Big 12 is one of strategy and not emotion. The ADs made clear their emotions. It's unclear yet, Matt, if the Big 12 presidents are matching that emotion from the Big 12's athletic directors. There obviously were curse words and threats and such coming from that AD room, and there's a clear consensus in that room from the 15 other ADs. They don't want Brendan Sorsby to play this year.
That's Pete Thamel wrapping up the Big 12 executive meetings.
Once he said curse words, I knew Santiago was there.
Nice. And an incoming text for PK in 3, 2, and 1. I can get myself in trouble. I don't need help from you. Stop it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Brian was there.
Did Santiago sit quietly and listen? Or was he leading the discussion? There were curse words. Well, Santiago took the lead.
I'm just kidding. And so the funny thing is, there were 15, and Texas Tech puts out a 20-minute video, 21 minutes. I listened to it. It was torture.
Good. I'm glad you listened to it.
I did.
That's torture.
And this is 9 o'clock. The hot game was over.
Were there any new?
It's an addiction.
Yes.
And they have restrictions on his phone.
Yeah.
This little boy that we have to take in, it is an addiction. I don't mock that. But the thing about it is, well, he never been on his team. Well, wait a second. You're telling me it's an addiction, which it is. I got no problem with that. And you're saying, basically, we got restrictions on his phone, and he never bet on his team, so this will never happen again. But it's an addiction. Well, what do we know about addiction? Are you ever really cured? They're talking it at both sides of the mouth. It's an addiction, but we got it covered now over here. You can't have that both ways. It doesn't work. It's inconsistent. And if anybody in the history of the planet from going forward, if you have an addiction in gambling, go to Texas Tech, enroll as a student, because this is who we are. We take care of our own. Meanwhile, you go play and you win us football games. And if anybody else in the conference had done it, they would be one of the 15 saying, you gotta be kidding me. He can't play. He knows the rules. It's a joke.
And I thought he did bet on his team because I thought he did bet on prop bets on individual players.
He did not harm his team. He did not bet them to lose. They're coming up with every excuse. It's like Cody Campbell. Well, nobody boycotted Penn State. Yeah, they got a guy in prison and Paterno died, and he was fired. I mean, what are you talking about? There's all sorts of repercussions against Penn State that hurt the whole university.
Yeah.
And so here and they put out a thing, and of course they have an in-house guy. They ought to have that lady Kennedy, the softball pitcher that they paid $2 million to lob those questions instead of the guy at the end of the table lobbing the questions. She knows how to pitch softballs, and so they ought to have her doing it. And it was 20 minutes of, we love him, and he's one of us. Yeah, he got there in friggin' January, and, we got to do what's right. And then they quote something where he's in Houston, and Dakota Allen were a player that had a problem. As I understand it, the player left school and then came back. This kid isn't great. Keep him in your fold, nurture him, support him, but that doesn't mean he has to play.
Pay him.
You can still do the same thing without playing. You can be as magnanimous as you want, but you're going to play him because you want to win games. Just say it. Does he make us a better football team? Yes. Especially with Hammond out, and we don't know when he's going to return and what his condition is going to be in. And if Hammond was healthy, maybe we would not play Sorsby. Just tell us, man. He helps us win games, and we're going to support him. Family on 3, winning games on 1.
We're headed back to a courtroom, it feels like. That's what this feels like. The Big 12 will have their meeting.
Judge
They'll decide
Wapner,
what they do.
the People's Court.
Judge
Dun-dun, 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 dun-dun.
Now, see, Jake's out today. Alex is laughing at that, and I thought that reference would be too old. But I guess the classics never grow
you don't know,
You know
Al.
about Judge Wapner? The original judge?
I don't know. I was thinking more of
all the other judges came like Judge Judy ripping off Wapner.
I was thinking of Judge Judy.
Wapner was the first.
Well, yeah, Judge Judy is Judge Wapner's daughter. Look it up.
Really?
Look it up.
No, you're just toying with me.
Look
See
it
if you can
up.
Get me to do it during the break.
Look it up.
What's her last name?
Judy. Her first name is Judge. You don't want to give her last name and have a bunch of creepos stalking her. She was a babe in that robe.
One more college football story, and it's a big one. Florida plans a $1.45 billion renovation to Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, a.k.a. the Swamp.
I've been there.
You have been, and I want to ask you about that here momentarily. I'd just like to point out for anybody who says, well, this just can't go on. This keeps escalating, and this is just unsustainable. Well, if Florida can round up almost $1.5 billion, $1.45 billion to do the stadium, my guess is Florida can round up more money for NIL, and it can go on for a while. So maybe you and your school can't go on, but there are going to be some schools that can go on, and Florida seems to be at the front of that parade. $1.45 billion renovation to the Swamp. Was the Swamp run down when you were there? You were there with the Utes a few years ago.
Oh, you could tell it's an old stadium, yeah. I mean, you know. I've been in new ones, newer ones,
right,
brand new ones.
And you felt the age there?
Yeah,
the heat,
still
the
really
humidity,
cool.
It's a little beat up, and they'll probably put in more luxury stuff, places to eat and all that, where they can charge people more money.
It reminded me of the old Stanford Stadium. Just this in its size.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And just old, but
Stanford,
huge.
You're talking back when it was bleachers and a huge bowl
But
before
they had a Super Bowl there.
Yeah.
I covered a game in Stanford before they remodeled it, covered a game in Stanford after they remodeled it. And you could tell, okay, this is I've been in the Rose Bowl, I've been in the Coliseum. And then they do
the
these
Coliseum's
updates.
been updated big time.
Yeah.
And the Rose Bowl has multiple times, too.
I was in the Rose Bowl last September, and compared to where I first went to the Rose Bowl in the 80s,
Night and day.
you could tell it's I get it.
All right, well, Florida's got the deep pockets. They're not going to be out of money anytime soon. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
It'll be interesting now if Alonso gets one into the outfield. Very interesting. Pete hits it high and deep. Left field. There it goes. Pete Alonso sends it deep into the Baltimore night. What a shot. It made it onto the walkway in left field. Pete Alonso just sent a baseball where it just never goes.
Here's the pitch. Suzuki drives one in the air. Deep left field. It's got a chance. Grand slam home run. Seiya Suzuki with a granny.
Hanging slider from Feltner, and that's the hit the Cubs were needing.
2 outs in the 7th. A 1-2. Ripped in the air to right field, pretty deep. Walker back onto the track, at the wall, and it's gone! Juan Soto with a go-ahead home run in the bottom of the 7th has given the Mets a 5-4 lead.
And the Mets beat the Cardinals 5-4, the final score. You heard Pete Alonso going deep as the Orioles beat the Mariners 6-5. The Cubs get the big hit in a 9-3 win over the Rockies. Cubs avoid the sweep at the hands of Colorado. Cubs lose the series, though, and they've lost 8 of their last 9 series. They did split a 4-gamer in there with Pittsburgh. They got a whole pitching staff on the injured list, though, PK. They're onto their second staff here. They need to get some people healthy.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. It's been they haven't won a series in a month and a half now. The big story, Shohei Ohtani exits early with left knee inflammation as the Dodgers beat the Pirates 8-6. Now, it's not supposed to be a big deal. There are reports after the game that he's expected to be back in the lineup today, and they can afford to take him out. He scored a bunch of runs early, and he had a home run. He was 2 for 2 with 2 walks and a homer. He had a day.
Well, it's June, and if he feels any tinge of pain,
get him healthy.
So, yeah, of course.
The Bees lose 7-4 in Reno. Back at it tonight. They won 2 of 3 to start the series. Game 4 in the 6-game series tonight. Tony Parks is on the call. They'll be on the air at 7:20 on 1280 The Zone. DJ and PK.
Hashtag RSL.
And incidentally, he and his opposite number, Hugo Bros, played against each other in the 1986 World Cup. Sotolo was caught up there, and there's a only goal for the Mexicans. Quinones, big goal. Alvarado's crossing, and there's the goal he was looking for. It's Raul Jimenez, and it's 2-0. A World Cup goal at last.
They've got to make it more intricate how they did before to try and get in the game.
Oh, it's a good run, a really good run. Surely it's the equaliser. And it's there. Hwang In-bom levels matters for South Korea.
The World Cup starts with Mexico shutting out South Africa 2-0. 3 red cards. 3 guys kicked out. Mexico gets the win at home. South Korea gave up an early goal on a long throw-in, but then scored twice and beat the Czech Republic. They beat Czechia 2-1. U.S. Opens play tonight. They play Paraguay in Los Angeles, 7 o'clock on Big Fox. Canada plays at 1 o'clock in Toronto against Bosnia.
You going to have a watch party?
Herzegovina. No, I do not have a watch party scheduled. Probably should have. I didn't think that through.
Oh, yeah. Come on, you're the guy.
I know.
You should be having a thing down at the stadium.
Yep.
And you should be leading them.
Financial opportunity missed right there. Should have been a watch party.
Oh, here I am trying to make use people money. Hey, listen to that guy. You know, you try to do this, but you come off like a white guy trying to pronounce Polynesian names authentically.
Yep.
When you say...
And you want to know why that is?
2-0.
I'm
you
a white guy
have to have some form of an accent. Straight white American dude who you are saying 2-0, they level it. No, use the terms that we use unless you're from there. It's like Kawafusi. I'm white guy. It's Kafusi. I don't know what to tell you. I can't pronounce it like that. It's the same thing. Stop it. It's 2-0. They tied the score. The game ended in a tie. It's not a draw. But if you're European and have some form of a British accent or what have you, or, you know, whatever accent's over there, you can do that. White guy from America, no.
when I was just starting out calling games, people were like, yeah, you have to watch the national announcers and do what they do and pick up on them. Yeah, and it's an English guy, and there's a goal, and he goes, Sublime. And I'm like, if I said Sublime after a goal, people would die laughing like Alex is right now.
You have to do it.
No, I don't. Go talk to Nate Dowell about it. He was there when it happened, and it still kills him. Yes.
Man, you would die, and it kills him. You got Alex dead. Yes. Now you got Nate Dowell dead.
It could have happened if I had yelled.
Man, you're
Sublime!
a violent person.
After
just
an
when you say
goal.
2-0, it sounds stupid.
Sublime.
You can say Sublime all you want. 2-0 sounds stupid.
Every time
you
I
don't
say
need
Sublime,
to go there.
he starts laughing again.
You're not. If you say Sublime 15 more times, I promise you he won't laugh 15 more times.
We might, but
no, I guarantee. No, we got till 10 o'clock.
No,
we're okay.
No, we really don't.
Yes, we do.
You made another point in there somewhere. I was going to say something. I lost what it was under all of that.
Grow up.
No, there was something else in there. I can't remember. All right. So tonight, 7 o'clock.
White guys trying to pronounce Polynesian names as if they're Polynesian. No.
U.S. and Paraguay. Here we go.
There was an anchor in Phoenix and in L.A. She moved to L.A. when I there, and her name was Linda Alvarez. And she would blah, 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 blah. And then she'd go, Linda Alvarez. But she's Hispanic. She was Mexican, so she can get away with it.
Yeah.
Well, Fred Rogan, who was in Phoenix and also in L.A., he wouldn't have said, back to you, Linda Alvarez. No, he wouldn't have done that. You can't do that. Alex can get away with it. You can't.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag NHL.
Ehlers takes a look. Svechnikov back up top. Chance for Gostisbehere. Svechnikov snap shoots, scores! There are the hands, and that's the magic of number 37, Andrei Svechnikov. And it's 2-1 Carolina, a power play goal. Into the Vegas zone. Drops here for Aho. Back to Gostisbehere. He's going to set it up. Side of the net. They score! Tick, tack, toe. Andrei Svechnikov's second power play goal. And it puts Carolina up 4-1 in Game 5. And this one is over. We don't get the official horn. Now we do. Carolina, 4-2 winners in Game 5. They take a 3-2 series lead. And we will talk to you in Sin City. I know they like gold out there, but a big piece of silver is waiting for Carolina.
All in one breath.
Vegas scored the first goal. They scored the last goal, but in between, Carolina scores 4 in a row, 2 of them on the power play. They're up 3-2. They got 2 chances now to clinch it and hoist the cup.
Well, they won't do it. The big story is Tortorella flew back to Vegas nude because he said, we'll be back here. We're just going to do it in a different order. I'm going to leave my clothes here. That's for sure. They'll be in the hotel. His own words.
His own words.
He's flying the friendly skies naked. He left his clothes there because he knows he's coming back.
Tortorella, not done yet. Game 6 is Sunday night.
He left his clothes there.
Yeah, there it is.
This team's been down. They were down into Utah. What's their faces? The Mammoth? And they came back. Don't count out Vegas.
More offseason moves coming. Darnell Nurse giving the Oilers short list of trade options. Got a couple guys on the block. May have a couple more here soon. We'll see. DJ PK. That is what is trending. Sponsored by Shamrock Plumbing. No job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. When we come back, the question of the day, more on the NBA draft and the Yahoo prediction from Kevin O'Connor, the Jazz taking Cameron Boozer at number 2. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
Thumbtack presents Uncertainty Strikes. I was surrounded. The aisle and the options were closing in. There were paint rollers, satin and matte finish, angle brushes, and natural bristles. There were too many choices. What if I never got my living room painted? What if I couldn't figure out what type of paint to use? What if I just used Thumbtack? I can hire a top-rated pro that knows everything about interior paint, easily compare prices, and read reviews. Thumbtack knows homes. Download the app today.
This is Utah's best coverage of the Utes, Cougars, Jazz, and Mammoth. Here we go. From the guys who have been there for all the biggest moments in Utah sports history. You're listening to DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Question of the day, all about the draft. David Locke coming up at 8:30. AJ Dybantsa's shooting ability. He shot 33% from three for BYU. As a comparison, Stephen Castle shot 27% from three during his one season at UConn. Is a concern over Dybantsa's shooting justified? We're going to talk with David Locke about that coming up at 8:30. He'll be here 1 hour from now. You just pointed out, PK, in our last segment that this all could be a discussion about nothing as far as the Jazz are concerned. The number one pick still projected to be AJ Dybantsa to Washington. Kevin O'Connor, Yahoo Sports, with his mock draft 8.0, and he has just moved Cam Boozer up into the number 2 spot, has the Jazz taking Boozer and leaving Darren Peterson for Memphis at number 3. And you were asking about the logic, he says, behind that. And it says here in his write-up here, I'm moving Boozer into this slot, and it's not based on any intel at all. It's a gut feeling based on history. And then he goes into a lot of the parallels of the same stuff Bill Simmons was talking about yesterday. Love the wings. He's done, Danny Ainge did something unorthodox before, and he says, you're telling me the Jazz front office, now led by Danny Ainge and Austin Ainge, will take Darren Peterson? He has the whole cramping saga. He missed 11 of 35 games, one of them against undefeated Arizona when he pulled himself 15 minutes before the game because of flu-like symptoms. He sits out the biggest game of his life, and he calls himself an antisocial loner. I don't buy it when the alternate choice is one of the greatest college freshmen in recent history, Cam Boozer.
Oh, I like Peterson even more if he's an antisocial loner.
These are your people?
Yes.
You go to big places and walk around the edge of the room collecting the people who aren't interacting with the other hundreds of people there?
Now that I know, I didn't know he called himself that.
PK on the edge of a ballroom somewhere chatting somebody up.
Sweet.
You're not interacting with the other 999 people. Are you an antisocial loner?
Yeah. I'm a bigger fan of Darren Peterson then. We got something in common. So I view myself as an antisocial loner. I spent a lot of time alone in my life. The biggest game of his life was the NCAA tournament. It wasn't Arizona. There's no such game. For a program like Kansas, there's
the
no such
regular
program.
Season isn't. They've got
a game, I should say.
They got to win the NCAA tournament every year. That's their goal.
Yeah.
Certainly Final Four every year. They know they can't win it.
I mean, they're way high up there. We know that. So I would disagree on that. But, all those are factors into not taking him. So I understand that. Now, I don't know this, but it seems like he saw or listened to the Simmons thing that I listened to. And that
he's certainly drawing from that logic, without question.
So maybe that's in. I like, and I have no problem saying that he has no particular inside information to offer. That's fine. I mean, these are all just opinion things, and we all look at these mock drafts. We do it every year, and it's like we're addicted to it. We can't help it. What's the latest one? And he's had 8 of them, right?
Yep.
We used to do it with that old Chad Ford, guy who was a teacher at BYU Hawaii who did ESPN for a good while, and we would look at them, and particularly as it relates to the Jazz. It's actually easier this year. This is the easiest year with the mock drafts because they're drafting the highest.
Yeah.
So it's either going to be 1, 2, or 3.
Austin said that when he came on the air. Yeah. The permutations are, when you're drafting 8, 9, 10, there's lots of stuff that can happen in front of you.
Right.
And there's usually a big pool of players. And now,
so I have to admit, I haven't looked at the mock drafts as much this year because we know what the
top 4 looks like, and they're picking second.
Right.
And there doesn't seem to be any variation in the top 4. Those 4 are the 4, and they've broken away.
Yeah, maybe in the order now. Obviously,
the order
a couple
could flip.
guys
The order
saying
could
Cam
flip.
Boozer.
Yeah.
If it's Cam Boozer, I'm not a big grass is greener on the other side of the fence. And you're talking to a guy whose the first move from New Jersey to Phoenix, I was a kid, so I didn't really have a say. But then I moved to L.A. and I moved to here, and so I have moved around. So it's a little, wait a second, it's a little contradictory saying that I'm not a grass is greener kind of guy. And what I mean by that, as it relates to Boozer, Boozer's a really solid player, and if you're comfortable with him, you don't necessarily need to take that chance, the higher ceiling. What is wrong with a 20-10 guy that if you feel like he's going to be a high 70s, 75 game player a year. That's plenty good enough. And he's going to be there in the playoff. You need a bucket, and he can get you a bucket in the playoff. And so that's very solid. And those guys don't grow on trees either. So if you're thinking along those lines, I'm totally comfortable with that. On the other hand, I still insist, through my own eyes watching him, that I believe that Darren Peterson is the most skilled player in this draft right now. Now, I don't have the trained eye to the level of those guys have. I get that, and I certainly don't have the conversations that they have access to. I can hear stuff, but they can go direct to the source and see in his eyes and what they feel and what they think as far as that. So what their opinion is far more important than mine. If they have any trepidation, then don't do it. But it seems to me, Peterson, he's worth a shot. But, if they bomb, well, I don't lose anything. It's easy for me to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I want them to win. I like the Angels. I've certainly known the younger for many years. I feel like, we're not we're maybe casual friends. We're not close friends, but I can talk to him whenever and then maintain the relationship. So I want him to succeed on a personal level. I've got no problem saying that. But the fact is, if it doesn't, it's really no sweat off my back. I want them to succeed. So I can go along to Peterson one because I think he's the most skilled player.
I think the question you posed there at the start, it's not about, there's nothing wrong with picking Cam Boozer. If he turns out to be, I don't know, if he turns out to be Klay Thompson, right? Second best player on a championship team. But I think people look at him and think he can't be LeBron or Curry or the Joker or Giannis or whoever the best player in a title team.
Can anybody in this group do it? You don't know that.
You don't know that, and that's why there's so much debate about this. But when you're drafting this high in a draft like this, you want to get that player. Now,
but you don't know that player exists.
That's took the words right out of my mouth. In the recent drafts here, right? We just had Dallas gets Cooper Flagg, and people seem to have no doubt about Cooper Flagg. This guy is generational, unreal. It's a slam dunk. And Victor Wembanyama, same thing. These guys are expected to win titles. They're just awesome. All of these guys are supposed to be very good, but have a flaw. Now, who knows if any of this will turn out? Cooper Flagg may never win a title.
No, I don't know that Cooper Flagg is that guy.
Do you think Cooper Flagg is Dybantsa, or do you think he's better? I mean, I'm picking Dybantsa because he's supposed to go number one in this draft, but you could go with Peterson or Boozer.
Well, right. But see,
I think he was thought of as a higher prospect than the other four, and he's expected to, maybe expected is too strong.
AJ,
because
speaking
of Cooper Flagg, because when Wembanyama is expected to. So Cooper Flagg, what's one notch under expected?
I mean, we saw, but the problem is I'm skewed with Cooper Flagg. I think he's better than any of these guys because I just saw him play in the NBA.
I get it.
I haven't seen these guys play in the NBA. He put down 50.
Yeah.
Now, he's doing it for a team with no pressure. Like Locke has talked about Keontae George. They're really, and none of these guys who have excelled from time to time with the Jazz, and even Markkanen for that matter, there's never been any NBA pressure on them in terms of what you're going to, what
Wembanyama's facing right now.
Today,
none of these other players you listed have faced anything like that.
It's it's not the same. I think Flagg is better than all these kids, but that's unfair. He's already gone through it. Let's see. Can all four of these kids be better? Possibly. Let's see. And there'll come a time, I believe, Cooper Flagg, if you're that good in the NBA, you will be playing deep in the playoffs. This isn't baseball like Mike Trout in the prime of his career was essentially wasted.
Yeah.
And Ernie Banks, I don't think, ever got there. I mean, we're talking about legendary guys. Willie Mays got there early and then never really got back in his prime, and we can go on, right? But that's a different sport. That you're not pitching and there's 8 other guys and so forth. Basketball, there isn't, and so you're expected at some point. The statues and Barkley and Nash and Ewing, they can take heat for not winning it all if you want to go there, but they all got there. They all had opportunities.
Deep in the playoffs, playing the champ, depending on how it works out in either the conference final or the NBA finals, but the second best team in the league.
Yeah.
You weren't the best, but you were second best.
Which, I get it. You want to be the best, but all the knocks against those guys, all right, knock them all you want, but they still got there, and they still all had legendary careers in the league, right? And so that will come, I think, at some point for Flagg. I do think he's that talented. And I agree with Locke in terms of shooting. He's got the skill, and he's got athleticism. It looks like he's got everything he needs to be a success at the highest level. But, you got to give him time. He should have been a freshman this year. He reclassified. He didn't turn 19 until December.
Get to the pros a year early.
So let's So let's give, I would imagine in 10 years we'll look back and say, yeah, he got to a conference final. He needs some help for sure. These guys, I think they've all got that possibility, but that's just it. It's a think.
It's a possibility. It's not a probability
with
or
Flagg,
a lock.
I've got more evidence, so I feel more secure.
But I think, yes, but I think even before you had that evidence, a week or two before the draft a year ago, there was more confidence in Cooper Flagg's ability to get there
he was
than
the number
this
one.
for.
There's zero
If he had not reclassified and he was in this draft, I think he'd be number one.
Yeah, but you're also saying that as much as you try to put out of your mind the rookie season, you can't. And you saw
I can't. I'm mentally tough enough.
Oh, maybe
no,
you
I
are.
just think. I know what your point. But it's that there were no buts about Cooper Flagg's game.
Okay.
Whereas there's a but about each of the top four this year. Now they may overcome that. Any of these guys, who's to say?
I don't think there's a but about Boozer.
Yeah, there is.
I don't think there is.
Oh, I think it's his athleticism or he'd be number
but
one.
that's not a but. Because you're Peter with Peterson, will he play? Dybantsa, will he be able to shoot well?
Exactly.
Boozer will never have the athleticism, so don't go down that line. It's not a but. He'll never have it.
I agree with that, but but he'll never have the athleticism. He shouldn't be the number one pick. Yeah, but he's so skilled he'll overcome it and lead a team to a championship anyway. That's his but.
But that isn't a but.
It is.
You're going to draft
Brunson.
him. You've already answered that question in your mind.
But Jalen Brunson, he's a short guy. He can never win a title. Well, he's going to overcome his but here in one more win. He's got 3 chances. Now, maybe he doesn't overcome it. Maybe he loses 3 in a row.
And if it continues, OG will be the MVP.
Yes. And Brunson also is not the highest paid player. If he'd taken the money, would they have the talent to have these other guys? And he put himself in a better situation.
I think Boozer, that is solid. You know what you're getting. You can't say, will he do this? Will he do that? No more than any other player coming into the league that he has to prove it at the NBA level. If he does that, then that's the but. But that but is there for every single draft pick and every single draft, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 players. No, I think Flagg had it too. I'm talking the all-timers.
So Wembanyama then, in recent drafts. Yeah, and the all-timers you're going back to Shaq, there were no buts. Duncan, there were no buts. LeBron, there were no buts. Yeah, and look how that worked out. 4 titles, 5 titles, 4 titles. And everybody in the NBA would have taken him number one without even thinking about it.
But the overwhelming majority have a but. Mm-hmm. I don't think you can go with but with Boozer. His but is no different than every other player who's ever been drafted outside of just a few.
The hitch with Boozer here is the odds that he could be a top 15 player really good or a top 10 player really good. But if you pass on somebody who's top 5 or MVP, and because of the lack of elite athleticism, he's not predicted to get to that. That's why he isn't number one on a draft board.
You know what you're going to get, and then go surround him with other good players. And who cares if the other guy has a better individual career? If you're knocking on the doors of NBA titles multiple years and get one, great, you've won. Doesn't matter.
But how do you get that other guy? Isn't this the opportunity to do it? The number 2 pick in a loaded draft, and maybe one of these other guys is that guy. That's the debate with Boozer.
But that's no different than that's always going to be there.
Yeah, but it's for you this year because this is the year you have the pick.
Yeah, take him. And then you got Jackson and Marketing and George and the Wonderful Life. You ever see The Wonderful Life, Alex? You need to watch it, son. Okay, you got George Bailey.
You ever seen It's a Wonderful Life?
I have seen that one.
Pay attention. He nodded of the affirmative.
I thought you were scolding him. I didn't look up in time.
No. He went. I asked, have you seen it? And he moved his head up and down. That means yes. And they've got a George Bailey. Utah has a Wonderful Life at backcourt. They've got George and Bailey. You see what I done there, Al? Can I call you Al? Because, we're friends now.
You can call me Al.
Yeah. I can call him
I knew you'd
Al.
sing it. There's no doubt in my mind Paul Simon over here was going to sing that. We better take a break. DJ and PK, more of this coming up with David Locke, AJ shooting, Boozer's athleticism. Kevin O'Connor moves Boozer up to number 2 in the mock draft and slides Peterson down to number 3. Talk all about that with David Locke coming up at 8:30. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Over 2 decades of sports radio dominance in Utah. My favorite. This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're going to talk NBA draft with David Locke coming up at 8:30. There are other things going on, PK, including the Texas Attorney General warning the Big 12 that Texas Tech will take legal action if the Big 12 hands out sanctions. What is up with these people? Rodney says, well, the Big 12 thinks they're above the law and they don't have to obey the law. The law declared Sorsby eligible. So that's it.
Some retired judge in Texas declared him eligible. So then never appeal. Sorsby himself appealed. The law is the NCAA. They said no, so he went and found somebody who would say yes. That's the way of the law. Find somebody who will say yes. Keep going until we'll take it to the Supreme Court. How many times have we heard that?
We've heard that a time or 50,000 during our lives.
Right. And so this is all part of the deal. The Big 12 has to do something, even if it's just for show. I mean, this is so awesome, man. They just totally hijacked Big 12 Media Days. This is what it's going to be all about. And then the guys aren't going to want to ask about it, and the media is going to persist. And guys like me, this is going to be the overwhelming story. The Big 12 is getting all this run news-wise. They've got to do something, even if let them sue you. Let them come after you. Let them, the Texas Attorney General, really?
Yes.
I thought, now, if a politician wants to do, don't you have more important things to do? Don't we always hear that? Like when the guy wanted to audit the U of U, all the U of U sympathizers, don't you have more important things to do?
Yep.
Right?
It's a classic
Attorney
response.
General, don't you have more important things to do?
But it makes them popular.
Worry about, the guy's going to run for Senate.
I've asked
and who's buddies with Cody Campbell.
And I've asked 2 people here, are there any politicians, grown-ups who are going to rein Texas Tech in? And the answer is it's the exact opposite. The answer is the Attorney General standing shoulder to shoulder with them. And you're right, future political office. Yeah. Are you going to run for Senate now? Are you going to run for governor in 4 years? Whatever it is, it elevates your profile and gives you more options.
I think this is going to damage Texas Tech. They think they're noble. I think it's going to blow up in their face. And you're going to come off as win at all costs.
And people love to argue with you when you say stuff like this, and they shouldn't, because I thought of that exact point last night. I was in between periods grazing through the headlines, and I saw multiple national writers are like, wow, the blowback from the Big Ten and SEC. At first, we should make the whole league, and now they're maybe pulling back from that. Like, why put themselves into the lawsuit and get distracted with this? They got other things to do. But nonetheless, Texas Tech making itself a pariah here.
Yeah.
Like, why do we want to work with you if you can't play well with others in the sandbox?
They're trying to position themselves. We're just helping an addicted young boy. We are benevolent.
You're going to be a pain in the butt, and we don't want to work with you.
We are trying to win football games at all costs. Whatever it is, we're going to spin it. He didn't murder somebody. You're going to just do okay.
But
he broke the gambling rule. Right. Everybody knows you're not supposed to do that. He did it. And as I was saying earlier, it's an addiction. It's addiction. But he's never going to do it again. Well, if it's an addiction, it's an addiction. How do you know he's never going to do it again?
I'm talking to people who worked with addiction.
Of course.
It just looms out there. It's a gray cloud. It might be a little more in the distance. It might be right over you.
You never know. And we've put parental guidelines on our phone. And then his parents called, and they weren't worried about his son right there. They wanted to make sure we were okay. And we said, yes, we'll take care of your boy.
And the question
looms.
And
listen to the whole thing.
And the question looms, I think it was Matt Brown who brought it up with us yesterday, if this were a second-string guard, would Texas Tech be putting themselves in the middle of this firestorm?
Or if it was somebody from another school. They would be one of the 15 saying he can't play.
If this had happened at Baylor or at ASU
Whatever.
or West Virginia or whoever, pick anybody else.
BYU.
Utah. Get the locals in there. They'd be one of the 15. They wouldn't be the one.
Right. Yeah. You want to just say, guys, he gives us the best chance to beat Houston. We're playing him. You don't like it? Hey, right here. And leave it at that, because that's what you're saying. And whatever you say, that's the message that everyone is taking.
That's all anyone's hearing.
So say it. Winning on one. And Cody, we need more money. How much you need?
Join Scotty and the coach Monday the 15th in Nephi. They're going to be at Bar Dub Grill off exit 222 in Nephi. They'll be doing their show live on location from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Stay with us.
Thumbtack presents Uncertainty Strikes. I was surrounded. The aisle and the options were closing in. There were paint rollers, satin and matte finish, angle brushes, and natural bristles. There were too many choices. What if I never got my living room painted? What if I couldn't figure out what type of paint to use? What if I just used Thumbtack? I can hire a top-rated pro that knows everything about interior paint, easily compare prices, and read reviews. Thumbtack knows homes. Download the app today.
Nobody brings you better coverage of the teams you're passionate about than these guys.
Try some more.
This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. A reminder, you can win big Wednesday on the KSL Sports Zone with Win Tickets Wednesday. Coming up on Wednesday, we got tickets to see Rod Stewart, Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on Friday, June 19th. Great seats still available at livenation.com. Get your tickets today and listen to KSL Sports Zone all day Wednesday the 17th for your chance to win. We gave away tickets last week. We'll give them away next week. Rod Stewart putting on a show. All right, PK, we got David Locke coming up here in our next segment. There's a ton of things, and we actually have dual things for him with the recent mock draft from Kevin O'Connor at Yahoo Sports saying Cam Boozer's going to go 2 to the Jazz. He has no intel, but that is what he suspects. There's still the thought, will AJ Dybantsa drop? And Locke has questions about AJ Dybantsa's shooting ability. He shot 33% from 3 for BYU. Stellan Castle shot 27% from 3 during his 1 year at UConn. So, should we be sweating it? Castle's up in the mid-30s now. Should we be sweating it with Dybantsa? Will it even matter? Is Dybantsa going to go number 1 to Washington and be off the board so it becomes a moot point?
I don't know about a moot point. It may be irrelevant.
Thank you for that. I think that's the answer. It's going to be irrelevant. It's going to be a moot point. But I don't see why he can't improve his shooting ability. I know not everybody does, but a fair number of people do. And does he get it to 35 or 37 or 39? Where does this go? You got any other questions about his ability? All the other boxes checked? Because that is the one thing everybody goes to. And obviously shooting the 3 is really important in the NBA. We just saw that as San Antonio shot it well in the first half and dominated, and the Knicks shot it well in the second half and came back to win in Game 4.
Sure.
So it's a big, big deal.
And the second best player on the team that is in the NBA Finals shot 27%. So is it that big of a deal?
Locke always says the college game's totally different than the pro game because of the spacing. And Dybantsa, who had as little space to operate as anybody, seemed to excel with that little space. So I would think in the NBA game with the court spread, he's going to be fantastic.
Me too.
And this should really play to his advantage. And for all of us who are watching BYU every game, I mean, as the season went on, the space for him to operate got smaller and smaller. I mean, Wisconsin in December at the Delta Center seems like a gazillion years ago, but that was a completely different deal than what he was facing early in conference play. And then that was a completely different deal versus what he faced late in conference play. It kept getting harder, and he kept accelerating.
Yeah, those are all facts. And
all of it makes me think Washington's going to take him at number 1.
Maybe they will. And it won't matter from the Jazz perspective.
Right.
The questions for him and individually will still be out there, and we'll see how that plays out. You got to give it time. Got to give it at least 3-4 years. So go in that direction. But at the same time, I think they're enthralled by Darren Peterson also. And all that potential, and the what if, and the yeah but, as you say, rightly so. So with that in mind, what does all that mean? This is very rare, I think, that you have such doubt less than 2 weeks away as who's going to be the number one pick, which makes it all sorts of exciting. And then the fact that Jazz are right there in the mix adds to it.
I think it is rare to have this level of doubt. And I think that...
But it's a good rare.
When you do have this level of doubt, it's usually because everybody knows they're really flawed, and you're picking a B.
It's a bad.
It's a B-minus player. It's
bad
not a good
rare.
Yeah, it's not a good draft.
Right.
And it's just what makes this so unusual is it's a really good draft. They're really good players. There's no A pluses out there, but there are a lot of guys who look like A minuses, and whatever flaws they have, how much are they going to excel in the NBA and blow through that? I mean, you look at all the NBA players who didn't go number one because they had flaws in their games, and you just start with Michael Jordan at number 3. They had some flaw in their game, and could they overcome it? Yeah, apparently.
Well, yeah, but see, I think in those days, it was about the big men.
Yes.
So the big man always was the preference.
And in that draft, big guys went 1-2.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's
and one of them won 2 titles.
Completely different.
And the other guy had an injury and never came close to whatever his potential could be.
So I don't think you can compare that to today because the game has changed.
Okay, you want to go Steph Curry then. He won 4 titles, and obviously a bunch of teams passed on him, including famously Minnesota twice. But whatever the negatives were, he's too small, he's had a lot of ankle injuries, and he overcame all of it and won 4 titles.
Yeah, I think he was right around the edge when things were changing in the league. And he didn't play big-time competition. I mean, he did get the NCAA tournament.
And he got to the regional final.
But most of the games were whatever league
overmatched.
Davidson in.
Was
I don't even know.
Yeah, whatever they were in at the time. It was
League
probably changed.
or what have you.
Yeah.
That's usual. That's why the draft, as we're told 1,000,000 times over, and there's so much proof to back that up, it's not a science. It's a form of an art. And that's why DA is being credited, because if it were a science, he wouldn't be known or held in such high regard, because it is an art, and you have to make sure that you're on the right side of it. And you're going to miss occasionally. There's no question about that. But at the same time, you have to have more hits, and that's the way it goes, man. I know some people in the Jazz that were really upset. They had 3 second-round picks, and no one thought to take Lou Dort. Not that he's a great player, but you're looking for a player at a second round, and he succeeded there. And but yet they stunningly, I don't know, not necessarily the same management, but maybe it was. They find Mitchell and Gobert. Okay, score. And the second-round picks, well, if you're going to miss, at least miss on a second-round pick. Don't miss on the second or third pick. I mean, they missed with Cantor. And Exum had the injuries. They missed there. But now you've got this one here, and at the time that you have this pick, you've come off some really bad times in terms of winning and losing, which is ultimately the ultimate judge. So here, you cannot afford to miss this. This is the most important pick they've had in who knows how long. But it's right. And this is new management, new ownership. This is their first time to really change everything about the franchise in terms of winning and losing. I mean, the last few years, they've all been known for, the only thing they've been known for is tanking. That's it. Ask anybody around the country. Oh, they tanked. Look what they did. Well, now you had an opportunity and you must cash in. And the good thing, because it's a good rare that we don't know who the number one pick is, we can know that a good player is going to be available. Will it be the very best player? I don't necessarily think that that's the standard, because all standards are going to be different. Yeah, you can go the best player. If he goes, whoever goes to Memphis is going to have way more opportunity to put up numbers than whoever the Jazz take.
Okay, if you go best player rookie season, for sure. Yeah.
Well, it's about winning. Who helps you win? Who's going to help you win?
Who's going to help you win playoff games and series in 4, 6, 8 years?
So maybe if that player isn't individually the best player, but he's a piece that is really, really valuable combined with the other pieces, and you're sitting there, probably not next season, but we'll see how next season goes. And at this time next year, we could be thinking, hey, they make a move around the edges here a little bit, whatever it might be. This is a conference final team. And whoever Memphis drafted, they're trying to get to 30 wins. So you don't necessarily need the best player. You need the best player that you can get that fits into your team. Now, I'm not saying go for fit over best player. I'm just saying if it turns out that way and you've still won at a high level, the classic example you already brought up is Jordan and the Bulls versus Olajuwon and the Rockets. Rocket people, those two titles, I'm sure they're big time for you and on all that. And should you have taken Jordan? Yeah. But are you going to lament the fact that you took Olajuwon? No. That's the classic example. You scoffed with your eyebrows. You raised an eye, which is impossible to do, but you said it a couple weeks ago. But you gave me a face like, oh, I don't know about that, PK. Are you drunk again? No. I haven't had a single ounce of alcohol this morning.
Unlike that time when you were completely disoriented on the ship.
Nor any of the mornings since I've ever been doing the show. Nor any of the mornings for the last 40 years, for that matter.
Yay! Got a good streak going. Keep that thing going.
So, yeah, I stand by that statement. Now, you got to be careful. It's an easier statement to make than to actually have it come to pass. I want the best player. What you want is both. You want the best player and the guy who's going to be there, and it's going to take a couple years before he can be the leader, the best player on this team. And because of that fact, that's a good sign because that means you got big-time talent on the team, and I do believe they have big-time talent.
And they do have older guys who are ready to win at a higher level and change that.
And younger guys.
That storyline.
Older guys than whoever they draft. But, I mean, Keontae George is ready to win. I get the sense that he understands what the NBA is about. And it's great to put up a bunch of numbers, but you're on losing teams, man. Now you want to win. Winning is the ultimate intoxication. There's nothing like it.
And in this, it's why they're showing up every day. Winners get paid. Winners get the glory. Winners get the adrenaline rush. You can just keep checking boxes.
It's what that man said years ago.
That man. PK points at a TV screen that has Magic Johnson on it.
He understood it going right in.
Yeah.
Hey, I make all these guys better. We all win. We all get the glory. We all get the credit. We all live happily ever after. Look at this guy. Look at him go.
He's talking.
Right.
He's bringing his hands together. They're talking about a group, a team.
He's viewed as the ultimate winner. Now, there are other guys that are there in that category, but he understood it wasn't about stats. It's about winning, man.
He could score 11 points and be totally happy and be the star of the game. Literally, you would leave the arena or the TV if you're watching on TV thinking Magic was the best player on the court, and he took 7 shots and scored 11 points.
Whatever your position is.
Yeah, you think he's a role guy, but you know watching the game he dominated.
Your charge at this level going forward at the and maybe in college and high school too, but certainly at this level where the spotlight shines the brightest, is that your charge is to influence winning as much as you can. Now, the 8th guy isn't going to be able to do it as much as the 2nd guy, but the charge is all the same. Everybody has a piece. And that's how you get teams who win. They've got to be going in the same direction, particularly in this game. It must be everybody. If you're worried about shots, you're worried about this, you're worried about that, you're going to sidetrack yourself. That's what distraction is all about. And so find that player who you think fits in, and hopefully for you, he is the best player in the draft. But if you should not get that, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad pick or the wrong pick. Still don't
You
buy it.
might be able to thread that needle when it all works
You
out
still
that
don't
way.
buy it, man.
But if you're going deep in the playoffs, you better hit a home run when you got the number 2 pick in a loaded draft. Now,
but he might not be the best player
I'm trying to use
individually.
baseball analogies so you'll fall in love with me and I can be more popular. And baseball analogies worked in the last hour. Yes, a double down the line can drive in 3 runs. But wouldn't you rather hit it 420 feet and put it in the second deck? And maybe you'll hit the double down the line and clear the bases.
As long as I win, what you're telling me now is you want to win by 9, not by 2.
I want to do the thing that gives me the best chance of winning. I don't want to have a 60% chance of winning. I want to have a 90% chance of winning. Don't lump me in there and paint me in that corner. I saw what you did there, and that was not being a good teammate.
I think it's a legitimate question. If that double down the line helps you win the game, that's plenty good.
But I'd rather hit the home run and score 4 runs rather than have a 3-run double. But you're right, it might win the game.
Well, yeah, I mean, but how many outs do I have left to go? As long as you win. That's the bottom
true.
line
That
here.
is true. As long as you win.
Freaking winning. This is the pro game. It's not about feel good. It's about winning. And
yeah, well, when you win,
they must have that mindset. Yeah. Michelle Ainge, Danny's wife, and
the real
Austin's
power behind
mother
the throne
wants to win.
Yeah.
Win at the highest level. That's the ultimate goal. Everything points in that direction.
And that's why they keep showing spouses and parents and kids in the stands going nuts, because they do want that. They want it badly, and they got no control over it.
Bussey's goaltender,
Yeah, see?
they showed his
Right.
wife and kids in the stands, and all the players from Carolina going up and hugging him as if he just won the cup and he's the MVP. Now, he was inserted, was it last game, I think it was? And he got in there, and he played well last night, and they all went up to him to show his wife. It's about winning. And they interviewed the guy who scored the 2 goals, the Russian dude, afterward. I think that's who he's from.
Svenchkov.
Yeah. And it's about winning, man. He was just like 0. No, it's not about me. This is what I took listening to him when he's giving this interview. It's about, this is what we do to win. So find that guy. And the good thing is, even if they don't get the very best player, I still believe they can have an excellent draft. Yes, you want the very best player.
And that is true. And that is why so many teams tank this year, because there's a chance, even if you don't get the very best player, there's a chance to get a very good player who can help you win. And that's why a third of the league, by the end of the year, a third of the league is like, who cares about winning tonight? We need to win in June.
Yeah, and
we need
the
to win
league
in the draft.
I think they overreacted.
Right.
Because they knew the draft was supposed to be really good. We've been talking about it for over a year. And so a bunch of teams went down that road, and the leagues, now we got to change all the rules.
And last year they went down that road because of flag, but 2 years ago they didn't go down that road. There wasn't a bunch of tanking. There's always a couple teams that are tanking. The Jazz are one of them, but that draft wasn't as good, and everybody talked about it.
And I think you'll always have losing teams. And if those teams are losing, what difference does it make if their star guy is playing 40 minutes? You're still losing.
It hasn't mattered for 50 whatever years.
I think they overreacted with the lottery thing.
And it's because
they panicked because there was bad publicity, and let's change everything. And so they give us window dressing.
Yeah, fair. And it's because 3 of the last 4 drafts, 2 of them had a massive prize, and this one may not have the massive prize at the top, but the top 4, the top 8 are so good. You have way more teams trying to get in.
All they have to do is get rid of the stupid protected picks. Because if the Jazz hadn't done that and done that protected, what was it, top 8, then there wouldn't have been such a big panic to make sure you didn't get number 9. Get rid of those. That doesn't screw a team like Memphis, who made a trade under one set of rules, and then you change the rules on them after they operated under one set of rules. If I go to Texas and get myself a judge and overturn what the NBA did on the lottery.
No, you got to go to Tennessee and get that judge now. Texas judge isn't going to help Memphis. You got to go to Tennessee.
Yeah, but you can get somebody who liked Elvis and B.B. King and Sun Records and Perkins and Jerry Lee Lewis, right? Have some Memphis background. Who's been to Beale? I've been to Beale Street, Dave. I've been to Beale Street. I don't think that you have to. You're really, really limiting the possibilities of Texas judges right now.
He'll never admit defeat. Ow. He just keeps spinning. He just keeps spinning until he gets to something. And honestly, if you pick up the toy when it's spinning, you only have half the fun. You just got to let him spin and see where it goes.
I called you Al as a term of endearment. He called you Al derisively.
I did, but it was to mock you, not him. Because he knows
so he has to take a straight. He's young. How does he know that? He's thinking, wait a second.
Because he's a leader. He's the captain.
No,
who gave you the nickname the captain?
You did.
You are the captain of the ship.
He's only 26.
Oh, he's already
you just
driving
said
the boat.
that condescendingly, so he didn't bug you.
No, I said that because I didn't know his name.
Well, that's even more condescendingly. I know the guy's name is Al.
They're rotating producers through the soccer broadcast and through the morning show.
But Al always remember
and Al, I don't know that guy's name.
I've had just as many producers as he has on the radio, but I know you're Al.
Well, now.
No, I knew before.
Now we're boys.
Yeah, because I introduced him. I brought him in. I made him feel comfortable. And I made him feel like part of the team. I didn't derisively, scornfully mock his name.
One rando Saturday night, there's this voice in the headset. I'm at the stadium. Who the heck is that? No introductions, and I can't say, hey, who are you? We're on the air.
Why not?
Then another Saturday is like, I wonder if that guy was that. But then pretty soon I got it.
You're doing soccer. You could have said, who are you?
Nope.
You think you would have lost your job?
Yes, I would have.
You wouldn't
have happened. Possibly my life.
It's not well, then okay. Then you definitely should have said it.
No, thank you for that. When we come back, David Locke on the NBA draft. What does he think about the new mock draft out of Yahoo that has the Jazz taking Boozer? We'll talk with David Locke next. Chancellor Johnson from the Big 12 and Chris Vannini from the Athletic on Texas Tech and the Big 12 Media Days and what's going to happen here in the short run and what's going to happen in the long run. That's coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Stay with us, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Utah's best coverage of the Utes, Cougars, Jazz, and Mammoth. Here we go. From the guys who have been there for all the biggest moments in Utah sports history. You're listening to DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, Chancellor Johnson from the Big 12 Network and Chris Vannini from The Athletic are going to join us, talk about the latest on Texas Tech with them. And also, Brett McMurphy's got a power poll out, PK.
Big 12, yeah.
All right. Where do they rank?
He's a name in the biz. He knows what he's talking about.
Absolutely. We've had him on the show.
I got massive respect for him.
He's been hip deep in tons of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And he's got Tech at the top.
You do.
Yeah. Doesn't everybody at this point?
I think the top three are universal.
Oh, Brett McMurphy is a clown. I want to see where this guy's from. Colorado. Doesn't like him. Probably wrote something negative about Deion. Got everybody mad. Brett McMurphy's not a clown. Respected veteran.
Yep.
All right, DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time to welcome in David Locke, radio voice of your Utah Jazz. David, good morning.
Oh, my gosh, a Friday morning with two of my favorites of all time during the draft season and two people who emulate exactly what every NBA front office is wanting. Patrick Kinahan finding his true meaning later in his development, starting as an upstart at the Daily Breeze, rising as a writer into a talk show gem and one of the greats of all time, adjusting his game as he develops into the all-star superstar you want. David James, the understudy to the great one at Santa Barbara, rising up, maximizing all of his potential, and becoming the star that he is. This is what front offices want. They want a little DJ. They want a little PK. That's what Austin Ainge is hoping for, maximizing who they are.
You know what the Jazz want? Because we don't. And it turns out the public, well, they do want that. Turns out the mock drafts here, David, are getting a little scrambled, providing a little drama, whether it's real or not. We'll take it.
I think it's real.
Yahoo has come out with Cam Boozer. Cameron Boozer is the number 2 pick, according to Kevin O'Connor at Yahoo. He says, I'm moving Boozer into the slot. It's not based on any intel at all. It's just a gut feeling based on history. He goes into the Celtics history and the, passing on Fultz and sliding down and taking Tatum. And this follows what Bill Simmons said, who was going to the same logic earlier this week. And you're buying what these two guys are selling.
No, I'm not buying actually either of them selling. I am buying that the top of the draft is completely in flux and it's not made up. And I actually want to walk you guys through an exercise today because I'm flipped. I have flipped completely from where the narrative is. Kevin O'Connor is just talking. And frankly, putting out chalk doesn't get you any clicks right now. So, and I'm not saying he's a click fiend. I'm just saying like putting out AJ Dybantsa, Darren Peterson, Cameron Boozer, Caleb Wilson right now has like been done 1,000 times. Yeah. So I think in the media, that is people are doing something to try to get reaction, but it's because I think it's real. Like if you understand what I'm saying, like I do think it's totally in flux. I think Cameron Boozer could go one. Let me ask you guys this question. Which one of these players do you think is the biggest risk? Oh, actually,
Peterson.
Let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that. Which one of these players do you think has the biggest swing
Peterson.
from their upside to their downside?
I know exactly what you got. The distance between the floor. What's the worst this player could do versus what's the best this player could be? To me, the biggest gap is Peterson. He could be the leading scorer on a championship team, and he could go down as the biggest bust of the draft.
Okay, so I'd go the opposite. I think he's the safest pick.
Because?
And I don't think his upside is as high as everybody else's.
Okay, because?
Because unless he's Shea, like a 6'6" scoring guard, like everyone says he's Devin Booker and he's Bradley Beal, which is great. They're both incredible. Devin Booker's been a top 10 candidate, MVP candidate once in his entire career. Bradley Beal never was.
But you just wrecked the argument by saying unless he's Shea. Well, what if he is Shea? That's the top shelf.
I guess I don't see him as Shea. I don't see him with that kind of ball handling skill. I actually think, and I think his downside, find me a 6'6" guard who can shoot, who's been drafted in the top 5, who's busted in the NBA. Like, it doesn't exist. Dion Waiters is the answer, but he averaged 12 points a game in Syracuse. It's not the same thing. Like, it doesn't exist. Like, you're a 6'6" guard in the NBA who can shoot, you're not busting. But I'll flip this. Cameron Boozer, to me, could be a top 10 MVP candidate if he really turns out to be a ball-handling point forward at 6'10", who can play the offense. I don't want to say he's Luka, but there's a lot of similarities, and also can do other stuff and can shoot it and is the fulcrum of your offense, but he also could be Jabari Parker or Marvin Bagley. I think he's the biggest risk, but I also think he has the biggest upside and might have the most likely upside. I don't buy the narrative on this draft at all. Like, to me, AJ Dybantsa is the least likely to hit his ceiling, but his downside is 20 points a game. But I don't like that. I don't like RJ Barrett, Paulo Banchero, but that's his downside.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Stephon Castle, shot 27% in his season at UConn, and he's improved dramatically. Why can't AJ?
AJ can, and Stephen Castle's a huge outlier. But he is the answer right now. He is a huge outlier. He's done it. Like, I mean, that is awesome. And if Stephen Castle can shoot threes like this, we're going to look back at that draft and wonder why Dwayne Wade didn't go one. Like, I mean, he is Dwayne. If Stephen Castle shoots a three, he's Dwayne Wade with a jumper. He is going to be incredible.
For people who missed it, he shot 27 in college. He shot 28.5 as a rookie. He shot 33 this year, and now he's shooting 36% in the playoffs. I mean, the arrow is so up on this guy. It's fantastic. It's incredible.
It is, but let's give me a larger sample size.
I get it, but that's all he's played. That's all we've got. But it's like all you can do is get better, and it's like, well, this guy seems like he's getting better every month.
Right. I think the 36 is really appealing. He would be truly one of the first guys. Tyrese Maxey didn't shoot great in college either. He'd be one of the first guys in the last 10 years to make this swing. Like, guys that are below the 40th percentile in catch and shoot in college, almost none of them become 35% or better shooters in the NBA. But Castle might do it. And if he does, he's incredible.
You're not drafting a sample size. You're drafting a player.
Right, but I'm going to draft a sample size of 10 years worth of data that shows me that someone's not a good catch-and-shoot shooter in the European League, the G League, Overtime Elite, or the college, that they don't become above-average NBA shooters. I'm going to look at that data size, and at least I am, going to think there's something and really take that in and really think about that.
Okay, but I've got two competing storylines, David, and one of them, they can't both be true. There's one where they can't get better, but the other one where I'm told there's a bunch of talented coaches and and directors. They've got great facilities. These people are in at 7 a.m. every day all summer working on getting better. And the players are really into it. They're really conscientious in a way that maybe previous generations weren't, quite frankly. But these guys are, and they're super invested in getting better. So I'm buying that at face value, but that makes me think there can be more castles because they got the facilities, they got the coaches, they got the dedication. They can do this.
Build a castle.
Or that whole storyline is a bunch of smoke to make us feel good about bad teams.
I think you can be a decent shooter, and you maybe can make a decent shooter into an above slightly decent shooter. Like, I think there's something to touch. If you can't shoot, you can't shoot. I don't believe you can teach shooting. I think you can improve it with reps. You can prove it with, but yeah, no offense to all these great coaches in the NBA. Like, you can get some, like, Lou Dort suddenly couldn't shoot again, right? Like, Lou Dort, someone like is taught how to shoot in the NBA, and then all of a sudden he couldn't again. So I'm not sold on it. Like, I think these guys are getting better. I think there's every other skill in the world you can probably add. Your handle can improve. Your balance can improve. Your strength can improve. Your condition can improve. But frankly, you think there's something to touch, and you either have it or you don't. And I'm probably on an island. Particularly most coaches want you to believe, and I'll hear about this, and I'm sure some of my coach colleagues / friends. Yeah. But I don't buy it. I don't think you can teach shooting. I just don't, and the data tells me I'm right.
And the data is there for everybody. And SGA, who you already brought up as the high example, went 11th in the draft, and before he was even anything close, he was traded twice. So there's holes in all these theories.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, we can play this bull. Wait. We can play this bull crap game and decide to take the one-offs all the time. We can do that. That's fine. Pull the one-off out of the air every single freaking time. That's great. We can freaking do that. That's great. Super fun.
Okay.
But a really crappy way to evaluate talent.
But yet they had all that data, and he still lasted the MVP until the 11th
Shea wasn't a horse. Shea wasn't this bad a shooter. Shea's not on the list of guys who are – PK, we can play this game. I got 10 years of data. If you shoot below 40% on your catch and shoot, you don't end up being an NBA shooter. Stephen Castle might do it. Tyrese Maxey did do it. But you don't find it. You just don't.
Okay, I understand that. And that's on shooting, and you're right.
Yes,
but yet there were still negatives on SGA.
My turn. It's AJ Dybantsa, my turn. AJ Dybantsa shoots 38% from three. He's a top 5 MVP candidate every freaking year. If he shoots 38% from three, he's one of the 5 best players in the NBA. He's unfreaking stoppable.
Agreed.
He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it.
Okay, that to me is the question here, David, because he's shooting 33% in college, right? If he's that in the pros, right? But if he moves it to 35, it's a big deal. If he moves it to 37, it's a bigger deal. If he moves to 39, and 40 is elite, right? There's 40 guys shooting 40%. He doesn't ever have to get there. Like, every time he moves it up a couple points, he makes himself so much better. And I get your point about one-offs, but the fact is, if you hit on a one-off, it can make a coach's career. It can make a GM's career. It can make an owner a decade. I get your point. Like, if you got to make 100 of these decisions, but there are moments where the swings are bigger and the situation is bigger. And in a loaded draft, if you get the right guy at number 2, I get your point about playing the odds. You're talking to someone who's been playing the odds for decades on the radio, so I totally get it. But I got to acknowledge here, if they hit on the one-off, they're setting themselves up till 2040. It could be glorious if they're right. You got to be right about. You got to be right about the one-off. You know, and
agreed.
Yeah.
Two thoughts here.
Yeah.
One, The more likely scenario is he shoots 31, 32, 33% from three, and you have some variation of Paulo Banchero, RJ Barrett, Pascal Siakam. You got to figure out how to use them. Okay? And that's not easy, right?
Right.
Like that's his downside. It's still 20 points a game. It's still an all-star. But if I'm shooting, part of my point here is if I'm shooting the one-off, then I might be shooting Cameron Boozer.
Yeah.
You want my one-off?
Yeah.
My one-off is that I just found a 6'10" point guard who can run the offense, is a culture changer, is going to absolutely wins at every level, can shoot the three. If you find big guys that play the handoff game that can actually shoot, Nikola Jokic and Karl Anthony Towns are kind of the only two in the NBA right now. They're the two best handoff guys in the NBA. If you play the handoff game with a big that shoots, the offensive numbers are incredible. If you can invert your offense and have Boozer play the pick and roll and overpowers the smaller guards all day long going to the basket because everyone switches, if you can have Boozer suddenly take advantage of switches in the post, you might have a 20-point, 10-rebound, 10-assist one-off as Cameron Boozer. I think there's more likely, if you want the big swing, my big swing is Cameron Boozer. My big swing is not AJ Dybantsa. My big swing is Cameron Boozer.
If none of these guys project out to their best, if they all fall to their floor, and if they're all the worst versions of these draft projections, Boozer's the best player. And I
disagree. I disagree with you on that too.
What?
I think Boozer's the highest bust potential.
Okay, we're not talking about that. We're not talking. Yeah,
well,
okay.
no, you just
but
said it.
in
Go
the
to
worst
their
case
floor.
scenario,
Right. Worst case scenario, Darren Peterson is Jason Richardson. Worst case scenario, AJ Dybantsa is RJ Barrett. Worst case scenario, Cameron Boozer's Jabari Parker.
A worst case scenario, Peterson is Ja Morant, and I can't figure out what's going on, and I don't even know if he's going to be out on the court or if he's going to be missing weeks or months at a time. I mean, the worst case with Peterson is horrible, and hopefully it doesn't happen, because the best case with Peterson is he's out there just lighting it up, scoring 30 points in the conference finals and the NBA finals, which would be way more entertaining for me.
There's some level of this conversation where the medical stuff I'm just assuming is okay, right?
Yeah,
like
we don't know that. We don't know that.
If they know something medically, if Cameron Boozer's got a knee problem that they know about, if Boozer's put on a tremendous amount of weight in the last 2 years, like is that a concern? That's what happened to Jabari Parker, right? Like, and then he had a knee problem. So like, if there's something medical on any of these four guys, we probably should be talking Caleb Wilson here too. Then yes, all the conversation goes off. So in regards to floors, I'm not including medical.
Okay.
And I don't buy, like I've seen players who I've watched on tape and thought to myself like, oh, they don't want to play, or, oh, they don't want the ball, or, oh, they don't want the big moment, or, whatever, right? Like, oh, they're having an anxiety attack literally on the floor right now. It's happened. I don't see any of that in Darren Peterson. Late game, he goes and gets the ball. Late game, they go give him the ball. He pulled himself out of games and clearly had something going on medically where he was uncomfortable. But it did not, when I watched their close games, it did not manifest to me as a player who was ducking out of big moments or trying not to have the ball.
I get your point about one-offs, but I'm going to defer to PK right here because mentality matters. And the Ainge's mentality, whether it's Danny or it's Austin or it's both of them together, I don't think they do the safe thing. I think they think if we stare at this puzzle long enough, we will figure it out. And if one of these guys is a one-off, they think they will figure it out and get the right guy for the next 5, 10, 15 years. They'll figure it out. And it may go against the odds, and I get it, and I totally get playing the odds. PK, correct me if I'm wrong here. Is that how Austin and Danny are going to roll, or are they going to stare at the puzzle until they figure it out? And if they take a flyer, they take a flyer because deep down they think they're right. And you only have to be right one time to justify the draft. Be right with your pick.
And you must be right this time.
Yeah. So I'm banking on that, too.
By the way, I've studied this concept that Kevin O'Connor and Bill Simmons, our two Celtics homers, want to talk about all the time, about the draft history of, like, Danny Ainge. And somehow as though Austin Ainge is a clone, because this is the first thing I would say is anytime I hear somebody in the national media talk about Danny Ainge's decision, they're not paying attention. This is Austin Ainge's decision. Like, Austin is running the show. Danny works for Austin.
And,
really,
Austin has said multiple times that they sit around and argue out players every day, all the time, and it goes back for years. It's just
yes, and this is
right.
but this is Austin Age's legacy right here.
Yeah,
like this pick will if Ace Bailey and this pick hit, Austin Age's legacy are set. And if this pick and Ace Bailey don't hit, frankly, Austin Age's legacy as a GM is set. Like that's truthfully what we have here. So first of all, anytime I hear anybody in the national media start talking about, well, Danny Ainge's history says this, great, that's what you know, but don't think it actually has any impact today. The second thing is, if you even do study the Austin Ainge, Danny Ainge, there is no pattern. Again, we can do the one-off where we just talk about Jason Tatum, Markelle Fultz, one of the greatest trades of all time, but there's no pattern. He's drafted Fab Melo and Terry Rozier. Go back and look at it. If you actually analyze it, there's not a pattern. He drafted Aaron Nesmith. Okay, but that's a totally different player than Terry Rozier. There's just not a pattern here. It's not true.
We've been told we have to go to break 17 times. I guess we better go to break, David.
Why would you go to break? This is the best radio you've done in 10 years.
And that's why we've got so. No, it's not 10 years. You've been really good more recently than that.
Okay.
Well, you got
it's
going.
about time someone stood up to you. You know what the problem is? You know what the problem is for the two of you? When you get to the top of the mountain, you have no one around you who will say no. You should be thankful that you have me.
We are thankful we have you. You missed a Friday a couple weeks ago, and I was disappointed.
So was I.
I didn't whine. Yeah, I didn't whine about it. You show up a lot, and we appreciate it. But if we have a Friday without you, it's not nearly as much fun as a Friday with you.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
At least I know this. You got your money's worth out of this appearance.
Nice. All right, David, thank you. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you. All right, there's David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz. DJ and PK coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Big 12 football. What does it look like with Sorsby playing for Texas Tech? What does it look like without him playing at Texas Tech? We're going to talk to a couple guys who covered the Big 12 in college football. Chancellor Johnson, Big 12 host Chris Vannini from The Athletic. They're coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Stay with us.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
Over 2 decades of sports radio dominance in Utah. My favorite. This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Join Scotty and the coach Friday from 10 to 2. Tim Dolly Mazda and Sandy, 10785 South Auto Mall Drive. As far as the thing about the mock drafts and the clicks and all that, PK, people aren't getting paid by the click. Now, you can't not have clicks. You got to have them.
I used to.
You used to, yeah. And then they stopped because you were getting too many clicks. And that's what management does over and over. Well, we'll give you bonuses and you really perform. And as soon as you perform, they take them away. I had them taken away from me. Why? Because they had to pay on. You never want to pay on that. You just didn't think it was any good, and I couldn't do it. And then when I did, you're like, no, we don't do that. Yeah. CBS doesn't do that. Sure they do. You're just not going to do it with me. Fine. I get it. I think these guys get a little bored, and they've got to write something, and they know there's these multiple storylines, and everybody's lying, and nobody knows we're sure for true, so you write one of the other storylines you know is out there. This is plausible. It could happen.
Yeah.
And you put it in, they're going to make you write 8 mock drafts. All right.
Yeah, but I also believe that if you just go the standard 1, 2, 3, 4, it's already been done a million times.
Yep. All right, DJ and PK, we're coming back. Texas Tech, Big 12 football. The possibilities seem to be endless. Let's get to that next. Chancellor Johnson joins us. Chris Vannini at 9:30. Stay with us.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's room of choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
Nobody brings you better coverage of the teams you're passionate about than these guys.
Try some more.
This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, we're joined now by Chancellor Johnson, Big 12 host. Chancellor, good morning. I want you to know I think you're getting a raw deal here.
Good morning, fellas. Why is that?
Well, because there's a certain schedule, and we all know how this works. March is about the madness, and you've got to work a lot then, right? April is about spring football. You got to work a lot then. May, softball and baseball playoffs, 64-team tournaments, lots of Big 12 teams involved. June is about vacation. July is football media days. August is camp. September, the games are on, and the schedule takes care of itself. June's about vacation. What are you doing chasing this Texas Tech nonsense all around, having to read all this stuff, talk to all these people, and try to keep up on this? This is crazy. This is your vacation time, Chancellor. You're getting a raw deal here.
I am, but listen, I have always had a good work-life balance. I'm still taking my vacations, right? I'm still going out and enjoying my time with my wife, my family, and friends. But yeah, it's a mess down there in Lubbock, and we'll see how it shakes out. But you know, it's certainly a mess over there over at Texas Tech.
Well, Chancellor, you're home. And I know your work ethic is so friggin' strong. And you may saying, what are you talking about, that idiot up there in Salt Lake? Well, brother, there was a time, and I call you brother because you are my brother, a time well before your time, but nevertheless, a time when I, too, walked the campus of Arizona State because I am an Arizona State grad, my brother. So welcome.
For sub, I like you guys already, particularly. Absolutely, yes, sir.
The audience is so sick of Sun Devil stuff with him. He searches in everybody's bio. We got a devil here. I even told him a couple minutes ago in the break. You know this guy's a devil, right? And he's like, "Oh, I know. I'm on it."
Well, I imagine you were probably, doing your thing out there in Tempe. You had a great time, as did I back in my days at Arizona State. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and I was born back east, but I moved to Phoenix for high school, so it's my home too. I mean, nice. My wife's actually one of the rare natives of Phoenix, and so that's where my roots are. I was just there last week, as a matter of fact, at a family wedding. So they run deep, and I've followed the Cronkite grads as they've scattered in their jobs and so forth. So, and I see them, and especially with social media, it's easy to follow. And all kidding aside, they do have an excellent program to train people, and you're
the best. I got to stop you there. The best.
If you want to go the best, I'm fine with that. But I know that you trained, and you were trained well, and now you're reaping the benefits of that, and that's a cool story. And so here we are. We're talking about, and you're eyeball deep in basketball, and we want to get into that because there's a couple of players in the Big 12 that could go 1-2, and it's affecting our Utah Jazz. So there's a local story, and I've been around for a long time. I was there when they were a Pac-10 school, obviously, and here we are with Utah being in the Pac-12. Now they're in the Big 12, and I've covered all these media events. And the thing that makes me, I don't know what the word is, but it's not something. I want to go to the Star in Frisco in about a month and talk about football, but I'm wondering if the whole thing's going to be hijacked by this Texas Tech Brendan Sorsby thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, and especially after what we have seen played out over the past couple of days. Coach and a lot of the members of that Texas Tech program were here in town in Houston, where I'm based in, for the Houston Touchdown Club, and they didn't take any questions from media. They just kind of spoke to the alumni. And then yesterday, releasing that 22-minute video, which I did not watch.
I've watched.
I'm sorry. Look, I was enjoying my vacation. You mentioned some of that work life. I mentioned some of that work life balance. I've been able to read enough of it, but the the thing is, it's not going away, and they can try to kind of gaslight people and act like it's, hey, we're helping this kid, and I think, look, get Brendan Sorsby his help, but that doesn't mean he has to be on the football field while he does that as well. That's my personal stance on it. But as we get into Big 12 media day, as we get into the season, as I just mentioned, this thing's not going away, and Big 12 programs and the coaches and athletic directors, they're clearly making sure that it does not go away unless Brendan Sorsby does and he doesn't play on the football field. Good point.
Yeah,
I think the fact that you're in Houston is really interesting because in Lubbock, I can imagine everybody's rallying around Texas Tech, and you go to Wasatch Front, Utah and BYU fans are just shaking their head like, this is a rare time Utes and Cougars can agree. They're like, how is this possible? How is that court decision possible? But in a place like Houston where there are a lot of Tech people, and we've seen the Attorney General, I wondered if there were any politicians who were going to stand up to Texas Tech, and the Attorney General is going to stand shoulder to shoulder with them. There've got to be a lot of Texas and Texas A&M fans there who are shaking their head thinking this is horrible in Houston, but there's probably also a bunch of Tech fans there. What is the vibe there, and have anybody got any insight into how money and power in Texas might influence how this goes forward, if at all?
Well, money and power in Texas, they go hand in hand. And so, yeah, like it rules a lot. And we see that with Cody Campbell, kind of leading things over there with that athletic program and the influence he's had on the Big 12 since he's really, kind of taken over there, in Lubbock. And so, as far as Texas Tech fans, they're riding for their guy. And obviously they have playoff and championship aspirations, and they believe that they can get there, with Brendan Sorsby, while, everybody else outside of Lubbock and everybody else who is not a Red Raiders fan understands how when you gamble on the game and you're a player, the precedent has always been you can't play. And so now with Texas Tech trying to find these excuses and make it seem like, it's not that. Once again, anybody outside of being a Texas Tech Red Raiders fan, they're not buying it. And the thing is, I'd rather they just kind of stand on it instead of trying to make people kind of, try to convince them that this is going to be right. I will say, however, though, the thing is that Brendan Sorsby is supposed to be eligible to play potentially by week 3. Yeah. And so who do they play? The Houston Cougars. So I think U of H has a lot of fans that will be rooting for them if that is the case, if Sorsby does end up playing.
Yeah, there you go. That's for sure. No doubt about that. Coming from the East Coast when I was younger, much younger, and older family members and extended family, I know gambling is such a big deal. And I learned it's harsh to say, but when it comes to gambling, when hardcore, and in this case, a self-admitted addicted gambler, as the Texas Tech people said in that video, and I watched the entire thing.
Good for you.
I know I'm cautious about trusting them when they're talking about gambling because they're gamblers. And I learned you don't necessarily believe what they say. And so on one hand, they're going to tell us, oh, this is an addiction, and we're trying to help this young man, which is great. Everybody likes that. But on the other hand, they're saying, oh, and they told us in the video, they've put limits, parental guidance, basically, on the phone, so he can't look at different websites and whatnot. So they're sort of assuring us that this won't happen. Well, my experience, if you have addiction, you cannot assure us anything because it's an addiction. So they don't even realize that they're talking out of both sides of their mouths because it's an addiction, so we're here to help. But we know addictions, people fall off, but yet they're basically telling us, oh, no, this won't happen, and we're going to love him to death, so we'll make sure. And I don't even think they understand that is a contradiction of logic right there.
Yeah, obviously he does have a problem, and I think it's great that Texas Tech is getting him the help that he needs. With that being said, that still doesn't answer the question of why he should play. Because if it was anybody else, and it was funny because Cody Campbell had made the argument that if people are just whether if it was Texas, University of Texas, or LSU, that they would want their guy to play. But if it was anybody else, and if it was somebody else, Texas Tech, they would not want it to be that way. And so they're making excuses for their guy. And as I mentioned, it's great that they are getting the help that he needs, but that doesn't absolve him from facing the consequences. And I think, for Brendan Sorsby, he should have a football future. I think, he can still go on and play in the NFL, and he has the talent to do so. To me, it's just not in college football.
Yep.
We're joined right now by Chancellor Johnson, Big 12 host, and PK mentioned you got a lot of basketball on your Twitter feed. I couldn't help but notice The photo at the very top of your Twitter feed is you sitting there with AJ Dybantsa. And obviously the Jazz have the number 2 pick in the draft, and people here are really locked in on this. What have you heard? What do you know? What do you think from dealing with him and covering the Big 12 and Peterson? If you had the number 1 pick, what would you do?
Great question. So for me first, I got a chance to get to know both guys over this year covering the Big 12. And that started out in that picture. That was at Big 12 Media Day for basketball. And so that was in the ESPN broadcast. And, Darren Peterson and AJ Dybantsa, the personalities are completely different. Dybantsa rushes being kind of that star guy, but he is a basketball guy first, right? He's not somebody who is necessarily like caught up all in the media and being the superstar, but he certainly is okay with embracing that. And versus Darren Peterson, he's a lot more reserved. He's low key. But the thing about Darren Peterson is he certainly has a quiet confidence about him. And so while AJ Dybantsa certainly has, made it, not a secret that he wants to be number 1, so does Darren Peterson. And, they both have, great talent. If you ask me, I think Darren Peterson is the more talented player. And, when I watched him, he's just such a special player. He has great touch. He can shoot it. He can get downhill. He can create for others. He plays in the passing lanes. And so he's a star in his own right. Great talent. And then with AJ Dybantsa, he has something that you can't teach, and that's some of that size and that athleticism. I had a chance to watch him in person multiple times this year. I made a trip out to Waco where BYU was playing Baylor, and BYU was they had like a 3-game losing streak. And AJ Dybantsa kind of told me after the game that he's not used to losing coming from high school. And so he had a big game where he had 30-plus points, and nobody wearing a Baylor uniform could guard him. He had it anywhere he wanted it. It was like Burger King, have it your way, right? And so he was a mismatch problem, and we saw that throughout the year. But when I watched, Darren Peterson, it was just something about him to where, once again, his ability to put the ball in the basket quickly. He heats up. He's more of a defender than AJ Dybantsa. But the thing is, if I have the number 1 overall pick, with that being said, I can sleep very, very well. If I go up there and I pick AJ Dybantsa, I'm sleeping very well. With Darren Peterson, there is a little bit more of a risk factor, as we saw this season where he missed 11 out of the 35 games this year. And so, you can't go wrong either way. But, if it was me, I think that Darren Peterson is the more talented player. But with the risk factors involved, I can't miss if I'm the Washington Wizards. As far as I can't afford to miss that pick, I would probably go, even with believing that Darren Peterson is the more talented player, I don't think there's a big enough gap. And I would probably take AJ Dybantsa if it was me with the number 1 overall pick in DC.
You take Dybantsa, then do you have you voice the concerns, and we all know what they are with Darren Peterson. And I saw AJ play in person many, many times throughout the season, obviously, in and out of town. I was there at the NCAA tournament. I like his personality. I'm a little concerned about this sort of like everywhere you turn around, he's being interviewed at the French Open, I think it was. I was like, kind of wonder about being in the gym. But nevertheless, if they do take Dybantsa, those concerns that you have for Darren Peterson are there, and the Jazz are drafting second. But I'm thinking, for me, I take a shot. What do you think?
Well, I want to go back to what you mentioned as far as AJ Dybantsa. While, yes, he does embrace being on camera, the funny thing is when I got a chance to talk to him, whether it was the first day at ESPN Media Days, talked to him when he was in Waco, I had a number of opportunities to talk to him through the Big 12 tournament. I've had a chance to develop a relationship with his dad. I want to be clear. AJ Dybantsa is a gym rat. And so I think he has a camera with him, he's because he embraces being in front of the media, he does a lot of interviews and he's not shying away from that. But AJ Dybantsa loves to play basketball. Matter of fact, he skipped his prom because he wanted to stay in the gym and just hoop. He, obviously when he went out to BYU, he embraced the culture there, but he's a basketball guy first. So I want to be clear on that. And, he kind of has joked about it as far as I fill seats. And so, as I mentioned, he embraces kind of everything that you want and being a number 1 overall pick, as far as he will sell tickets, right? He will certainly embrace the community, because if he, as a guy who's from Boston, and he was able to be very, very comfortable, in Provo on that BYU campus, he's going to be good wherever he goes, whether that's staying in the state of Utah or going out to DC. He's going to be great there. As far as, Darren Peterson goes and the concerns with him, it's just hard to pass up on that talent as well. And so, I will say he got a bad rap over, the course of the season. And, I understand some of the concerns, but the thing is, I feel like a lot of people, who watch the NBA, they might not be watching college basketball throughout the year. So they do go into what are kind of just the headlines, what's being reported out there. And one thing I learned about Darren Peterson is he certainly is a competitor. And there was questions about, like, did he want to play? Did he love the game? Did he want to be out there in Kansas? But I'll tell you one thing, and granted, in this game, he did have a minutes restriction, and so he didn't play in the second half. But when he matched up against AJ Dybantsa in Lawrence, Kansas for that game, the one time they played this year, he whooped AJ Dybantsa's behind. And he went at him too. There was times where the first play of that game, it was a one-on-one opportunity on the wing. He went right at him, drove by him for a layup. And then defensively, he took on the challenge, even though he was a smaller guard, even though AJ Dybantsa has size on him. He took on that matchup in that first half before he ended up sitting in that second half. So there's a lot of misconceptions about him because he didn't really speak to the media. And I had a chance to chat with him. And, I just put out one of the rare interviews we've seen from him, this following, as we live to this draft, where, he was talking about, he called himself a antisocial loner. And he said, I didn't actually mean that, right? He just said, I just kind of grew up, my dad, growing up with my dad, he kind of taught me to keep things to myself. And so I didn't run to the media. I didn't really express how I felt. But the thing is, I do know Kansas, his teammates, they did really like him. He is a competitor. And if you do draft him, that ceiling there, he might have a higher ceiling than AJ Dybantsa just overall with that talent.
Probably the best case I saw made for him was, I think it was The Athletic, did a story where they must have talked to 15 people who'd known him forever, and people had seen him in AAU, high school, and even going back before high school. And like, this year's crazy because we've never seen anything like this with him. There's no hint of him. They never would have guessed it would have happened. The whole sitting 11 games and pulling himself out of games, it came out of nowhere. Do you think that is an agent-driven thing, and it's a money thing? Protect yourself. This isn't about college. It's about next year in the pros. And so while it's true and it's real, is it a lousy predictor of the future?
From what I've been able to gather from Darren in the few times I've had a chance to chat with him, I don't buy the fact that it was an agent thing or he was pulled from money. I just don't. I think there was something that was actually wrong with him. Now, could he maybe have given it more of a go? There could be there's maybe an argument for that, but just willingly, he just sat because he didn't want to play in games. I just don't buy that, especially when you consider, both AJ and Darren, they knew that they're only spending 1 year in playing in college, right? And for Darren, talking to him at ESPN Media Day, that was one of our conversations of he was really looking forward to playing in Kansas and joining a brotherhood and a legacy of that program. And so obviously it didn't work out the way that that I think many Kansas Jayhawks fans would have hoped, and neither did Darren Peterson. And I do believe that some of the conversation, it probably did get to him, to a certain point. And the way he could have combated all of that was to either A, get out there and play, or B, use his voice a little bit more than he did, throughout that season, because he was quiet and he did allow narratives to fester versus, maybe pushing back on that. And just in general, his demeanor is very reserved. He gives me a little bit of like a Kawhi Leonard vibe, right? But the thing is, he if you talk to him, he is really funny. And if you ever, see Kawhi Leonard, the teammates would joke that got a little sense of humor to him. That's the same thing with Darren Peterson. And so, obviously it has been a concern, and it has, been a conversation leading up into this draft. I think obviously once you get there, you get to the highest level when it comes to NBA. I'm not as concerned as maybe other people are, but it is a risk that you have to consider, and that's where we are today as far as in that debate of AJ Dybantsa and Darren Peterson.
Brett McMurphy has his predictions in the Big 12. They got the Devils. Brett has the Devils 10th. They're sleeping on us again, aren't they?
They certainly are, but look at the job that Kenny Dillingham has done, over the years since he's been there. And so I certainly trust in Kenny Dillingham. He has to replace, two great talents. Obviously, Jordan Tyson getting drafted by the Saints, and then, with their quarterback and Sam Levitt going to LSU. Listen, man, I'm so disappointed with the way that played out. With Sam, winning the Big 12 his first year, teaming up with Kenny Dillingham, getting him to the playoffs, and then now just bolted to LSU, and he has to do what's best for him. So I'm not mad at him for that, but it is a shame that a guy like Sam Levitt, he would have been a guy that would have had his name up there, up to some of the other greats that we've seen at Arizona State. So it's disappointing to see him gone, but I'm super excited to see what Kenny Dillingham does this year. As you mentioned, they are they haven't been picked as far as or has as much hype this year, but they're going to be good, once again this year. And then even with me being here in Houston, the job that Willie Fritz has done, since he's taken over, man, how good has he been? And now they're set up to be a contender in the Big 12. They're a team that I wouldn't be surprised, especially with what's going on, at Texas Tech. Maybe they can sneak in. And then, of course, Kalani Sitake, the job that he's done over there in Provo as well. I think it's, Texas Tech, BYU, and Houston are some of the teams that I'm looking forward to this year as we get into football season.
Chancellor, we appreciate all the takes and the time. Thanks for joining us. Keep that work-life balance going in June. It'll get busy soon enough.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, Chancellor Johnson joining us, Big 12 host. Take a break. When we come back, Chris Vannini from The Athletic. The news is breaking this morning. We're seeing reports now that the University of Utah deal with Otro Capital is done. It's been finalized, PK. How about that?
Yeah, I'm reading it right now.
All kinds of stuff going on. DJ and PK back after the break right here on The Zone with Chris Vannini.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car is gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
Over 2 decades of sports radio dominance in Utah. My favorite. This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK brought to you in part by Trajan Wealth, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call 1-855-TRAJAN1 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. DJ and PK joined now by Chris Vannini, senior writer for The Athletic. Chris, good morning.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Chris, would you like to talk about something other than Brandon Sorsby and Texas Tech? Has this just completely hijacked your life?
Let's talk about the World Cup. Some good games yesterday. I'm covering a game I'm covering Netherlands, Japan on Sunday here in Dallas. So let's do that. How about that?
Anything to mix it up. Let's go. U.S. to the quarterfinals or bust, right?
That would be great. They got to win. They got to win the game tonight. Like if they win, I feel like the buzz hasn't really started yet. And if the U.S. loses the first game, that may kind of suck up the energy.
Yeah.
But if they win this first game against Paraguay tonight, I think everyone will start to get into it as we get out of the NBA Finals and the NHL and really but they got to win tonight. It's a big one.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. And I think that part of the buzz is that people don't have tickets. They can't afford them because FIFA is price gouging, and that has wrecked everything running right up to the tournament. Just totally shot themselves in the foot.
Yes, and we saw the South Korea-Czechia game last night. Had a lot of empty seats. That was in Mexico. Not America, but we'll see.
Yeah. Chris Vannini joining us from The Athletic. All right, PK, let's get to it.
Yeah, I listened to the 21-minute video thing, and you know what I took from it is we are such benevolent people, and we're trying to help this young man, and that's all great. And nobody wants to dispute that. Help the young man. They actually painted him as if he was a 12-year-old boy, practically putting parental restrictions on his phone as if that's going to solve all the issues. If that was a big deal, then everybody would do it, and there would be no problems. Why don't they get to the point and just come out and say, he can help us win games, and we want to win the Big 12, and we want to win playoff games. I think if they said that, it might be received a little bit better.
Well, that's kind of what Cody Campbell said 2 days ago. It's been interesting. It's kind of mixed messaging depending on who from Texas Tech is talking. You notice Cody Campbell was not in that video yesterday. The AD and the president and Joey McGuire are trying to say, like, look, we haven't said he's playing. We got to get through his recovery, this or that type of stuff. But you also have Cody Campbell saying to Dan Dockich, the court said we have to play him, so we owe it to him to play him, and this kind of stuff. And the Big 12 ADs are jealous because he makes us better. So yeah, a little bit of mixed messaging coming from there. I think the only question, I don't think anybody doubts that Texas Tech wants to make sure Brendan Sorsby is okay as a human,
right.
That they want to help him get through his rehab, get over this addiction, and do all of that types of things. No one is saying kick him to the curb.
Right.
So that's why when most of that 20-minute video is about that, it's like that's not what anybody's asking about. The only question most people have is, why have you not determined that he won't play in games? What is keeping you from doing that? And there has not been an explanation from them over that. Is there a legal reason? Is it Cody Campbell saying we have to play him? I don't know. We've asked them. They have not told us. So that is a lot of the Texas Tech talking points last night and today have been, we haven't said he's playing. It's like, okay, then why haven't you said he's not playing?
Because they're going to play him.
And there hasn't been an answer to that.
Yeah, and because you're going to probably be in Lubbock on that third Friday in September to watch him play against Houston.
Somebody will be. We've been discussing that amongst our staff. We'll cover that game. Yeah, and he's got Cincinnati on the schedule too. So, that's really all it is. Texas Tech could have said from the beginning, okay, this ruling happened. We haven't made any determinations. We're still figuring out. They haven't done that. But Brendan Sorsby is not going to spend this fall at Texas Tech if he's not playing. He will go to the NFL supplemental draft, and that has to happen soon. That's why you got a quick ruling on it. So, that's the continued messages of, how dare people question our integrity when you haven't ruled out playing a player who gambled on his own team. It's yeah, that's why that's happening. There remain unanswered questions, and they continue to make lots of public statements without answering that question.
Chris Vannini from The Athletic joining us. This is the biggest story of the moment. There are other big stories looming out there. One is the thought that the Big Ten, the SEC could expand again, could break away and do their own thing. And there are a lot of schools who want to join them and get across that line. Texas Tech, by winning, is trying to put itself in position for that. But they're alienating so many people now that they're actually going to make it harder to do that, given how much blowback they're taking from the rest of college sports right now.
Yes, because of any type of conference move that is made or super league that is made, the cliche that everybody says is we're partners in all of this. And I think back to when Florida State was suing the ACC to try to get out of the exit fee. Greg Sankey was asked about this once and basically described Florida State as not being a good partner. And if other teams feel like they can't trust you to be on the same page with what the rules are or being in it together, they may not want you in that group. So, yeah, my colleague Stuart Mandel wrote a column, I think, yesterday about this. Is this really all worth it for this? Is Brendan Sorsby worth it? A player who is good, but so far not amazing. And you also potentially have Will Hammond available, who's a pretty good quarterback. Is it worth debasing the reputation of everything from your university to your football program to defend this when we haven't even gotten to the season yet? And the potential that somebody could want to invite you to a conference. At least Cody Campbell seems to think it is. So that's where we're at.
Does the Big 12 and your mark at least have to do something if it's just window dressing? They really, in my mind, they can't just be silent and say, we're done with it. There's nothing we can do.
Well, it's tough because it's not like your mark doesn't have the power to do anything. It would have to come from the presidents. That's why whenever people say college football needs a commissioner, it's like, well, commissioners aren't all powerful. They can't do all these things. In the NFL, you report to the owners, and in college, you report to your presidents. And so, based on our reporting at The Athletic, a lot of the presidents want something to be done.
Right.
What is that? We don't know yet, and that's what's going to happen Monday when the presidents get together. All the options are going to be laid out. It seems unlikely a decision will be made just yet, but it may be more trying to get a feel of what they want to do, what's legally possible, whether that's saying games that Sorsby plays in don't count toward the Big 12 standings, whether it's a postseason ban or a big fine, or just a wide range of options are going to be discussed. And we'll have to see what they want to do. Tony Petitti suspended Jim Harbaugh during the Connor Stallions scandal.
Yeah.
Or at least the Big Ten did. Tony with the top school, the presidents voted on it. But all the schools were mad at Michigan, and so something had to be done. And it appears that is the case here in the Big 12. What that's going to be, we don't know yet, but they're being very careful because you've already got the Attorney General and Jeffrey Kessler already threatening legal action against sanctions that haven't even happened yet.
All of this presumably is to get a quarterback on the field who is a difference maker. There are a lot of arguments about how big the gap is between these leagues. Obviously, Steve Sarkisian thinks he can win with his 2s and 3s. Arizona State had Texas in overtime. The Big 12 looked pretty good, even though they lost in the playoffs 2 years ago. Last year, Tech, who completely outclassed the top of the league, including Utah and BYU on 3 occasions, then got outclassed itself by Oregon. How big is that gap right now, do you think? And do we have enough data points, or we'll just jump to whatever game, but it's hard to know because there really isn't enough competition?
Well, I think it's really the top of the leagues, and we haven't seen, when the Big 12 was kind of remade, the promotion of the league was, this is the most competitive league, top to bottom. It's the toughest conference. Everybody's so close. And that can be fun week to week, but you need a couple of teams to stand apart at the top. You need teams to carry the flag. When the SEC was so great for so long, it was because they were winning national championships. Most of those coming from Georgia and Alabama, but that still allowed Kentucky to say we're the SEC. And so it's taken a couple of years, but Texas Tech has emerged as one of those flag bearers. And in their first playoff game, it didn't go well. And, I was the one who asked Joey McGuire, what do you think of Steve Sarkisian's comments? And he had his whole response ready. And he said, look, people can make fun of us for not scoring in the playoff. That's fair. So that's ultimately where it's at, is ultimately who in the Big 12 will get into the playoff and win a game. If Arizona State had made that stop on 4th and 20 or whatever it was, we'd be having a lot of different conversations about a lot of different things, including the format of the playoffs. Unfortunately, I asked Kenny Dillingham about Sark's comments, and he said, we lost. If we'd won that game, maybe I'd have different comments.
Yeah. As far as, you talk about what Stewart wrote, and it is a question that is it worth it all? So whether just for sake of argument, he plays, but just for the sake, say he doesn't, and you've already mentioned Will Hammond, as you handicap the conference, do you have Texas Tech still winning in your mind with or without Sorsby?
Yes, in part because, to quote Steve Sarkisian, the schedule is quite easy. They don't play BYU and Utah.
Right. Exactly.
So the schedule is that Houston game, one of the toughest games of the season for them, probably. So we'll see how Will Hammond is, if it's Will Hammond who plays, who I still think is a good quarterback, and they like him.
Yeah.
He's just still recovering from the injury last year. Joey McGuire said he'd be ready sometime in August. but that doesn't mean he's like fully game ready. He has been throwing. He's out there doing stuff, but he's not contact ready yet. So, yeah, I mean, Texas Tech would still be my favorite. I think top to bottom, the roster is still really good. Just a little bit TBD at quarterback, and the schedule helps. It's just the luck of the draw of what the schedule is this year compared to a year ago.
Right.
There's been talk about going to a 10-team schedule. That wouldn't fix everything, but it'd be one more conference game, so maybe the big dogs aren't missing each other. What do you think the odds of that are?
Yeah, I was the one who reported that because I was at spring meetings talking to Yormark, and I was asking him about, like, conference agreements. Like, could the Big 12 make a scheduling agreement with the ACC to try to do something? Because the Big 10 and the SEC have talked about that. And he said not really, but that he wants to do 10 conference games mostly because it's better for TV ratings. And the TV deal comes up in a couple of years. They're going to start those conversations. And so he would like to have more conference football games and basketball games just to help them make more money when they go to the table with ESPN and Fox or whoever. And it was brought up to the coaches. Coaches were mixed on it. Some of them were like, that's fine. Some of them were like, I don't really want to do it if nobody else is doing it. The concern with adding an extra conference game is that adds an extra loss to half your conference. That is why the SEC coaches are still mad about moving to 9 conference games. And so it's very, very early stages, and the 2014 playoff would have to happen before then. This is all contingent on the 2014 playoff happening. So it's early. Yormark wants to do it. Coaches are kind of mixed.
Well, Chris, we could probably go on with you all day long, and we probably shouldn't do that. We appreciate you giving us a few minutes, though. That was a bunch of topics to hit. Thanks for hopping on the air with us.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Chris Vannini, The Athletic, joining us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Your feedback next. Stay with us.
And it's all over almost here. Don't go nowhere.
That sound could mean a lot of things. And when something's going wrong at home, the hardest part can be figuring out what the problem actually is. At Thumbtack, you can upload a voice message or a photo, and our AI-powered search will help diagnose your project. Plus, the pros we know have over 14 million 5-star reviews, so you can hire with confidence. Thumbtack, we know homes. Hire the right pro today.
And now, enough of us. It's time to hear from you. From all your texts, tweets, and posts. This is the best feedback of the day.
Woo! Oh, I was there. That's the best game of my life.
With DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Join Scotty and the coach Monday, the 15th in Nephi at Bar Dub Grill off exit 222 in Nephi. They'll be doing their show live on location Monday, 10 to 2 at the Bar Dub Grill in Nephi. All right, time for your feedback. Everything you've got to say about today's show. David Locke talking about AJ Dybantsa's shooting ability. Stephon Castle's gone from 27% in college from the three-point line to 28% as a rookie to 32% in his second year and now to 36% in the playoffs. Is a concern over Dybantsa's shooting ability justified? Brian says, well, the concern is that he won't be able to, the Castle can't do this over the long haul. I mean, that is possible. We do see guys get good and then for whatever reason fall back. When Locke was on, he was talking about your Sun Devil in Oklahoma.
Yeah, Lou Dort, but he never could shoot. I mean, but he's a second round, undrafted free
It's
agent.
different, right.
I mean,
He did get better for a while and then went back in the dumper. David Locke came with a ton of energy and passion. Listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. He was all sorts of fired up today.
I feel a little guilty.
I don't think you did anything on purpose, though. You did get him wound up, but that was just PTSD on his part.
Because he does all this research, and I come in, well, they're not drafting research. They're drafting the player this year.
I know, but that's how they draft.
Well, it's a one-off. I mean, so it's a two-off. How come you never hear of that? It's always just one?
Well, if you hit on the one-off, who cares that it was a one-off? If you hit on it.
But why can't it be a three-off, a four-off?
And it could be.
Or fetch-off.
That's pretty much a daily thing. I mean, after a few hours of this, that's what Alex is about to tell us in the next break. You got to keep grinding through Coach and Scotty G. They got you doubled up today. I knew it. It's a Friday.
We're hanging out, man.
Joe Ingles got better, didn't he?
Lloyd's out.
His shooting.
It did get better, but it was never that bad.
It was not that bad, no. He started at 35. You don't have to look it up.
Oh, he did? You know that. Okay, cool. I have not memorized his shooting percentage. You stat nerd. I get what I see with my eyes.
He's Joe. Yeah, and his shooting got better. He started from a good point, but his shooting still got better.
And I wonder if that was the shooting or like the speed of the game freaked him out. You know, at first it's a transition. These are the best athletes. The players are bigger.
Yeah, but he started
at
35, so he had to be a decent shooter. So I'll give you that.
Yeah, he went 35, 38, 44.
And he went
bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, and he
wow. And then he did go backwards.
He came out of nowhere.
He did. And the 44 that third year was his career best at the age of 29. He never shot. It was 44-1. He went down to 44-0.
Okay.
Oh, he did have a 45-1 later on. But the point is, it's up and down. And we can see that with Castle up and down.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. Joe, after his 44, had a couple of years where he's at 39%.
And the fact is, you don't even have to make them. You just have to be a threat to make them.
Both those things are important. You're right. The first off, you got to be a threat because then they don't guard you.
Right.
Now, obviously, it does help to actually make them. I mean, they need the points. But I get your point. Being a threat to make it. And that's the thing is, like, if he keeps shooting 33%, he's not a threat. They're not going to defend him. Getting to 36 or 37%, that's nice. Now you're a threat, and they got to defend you, and it opens up the game for the teammate. If he actually gets to 39, 40, or 41, he's going to be all world. He does so many other things. If he's doing that at that good a clip, he's going to be awesome. But you're right.
So.
If he just gets to the point where he's a threat, it's still a game changer.
I think those guys who are freakishly athletic.
That's to Dave's point. To David's point, like
they don't have that shooting ability.
If you're going to do that, you're going to already be doing it
because they're so freakishly athletic.
They've been going to the rim their whole life.
It's like Taysom Hill, when he was growing up, did he need to be a pinpoint passer? No, because he could just either run over you or run by you.
Yeah. It's true. And it doesn't get developed. They don't get coached up that way because everybody's trying to win. You were just reading a story in the break about there's a high school in Arizona, and they're landing the top three of the top players in the state. One of them is top 10 in the country, apparently.
Yeah.
So they're going to apparently just walk over everyone to the state title. Well, high school coaches aren't getting paid to develop players. They're getting paid to win. And they got parents hollering at them, and they got principals hiring or letting them go based on, are you winning? So when you have Taysom Hill, and this has been true forever. When I was a kid, it was Marcus Allen. When you have the best athlete, you just hike him the ball and get out of the way. Let's not make this complicated. Marcus Allen was an NFL legend as a running back, but he's a quarterback in high school. What do you want to risk a handoff or a pitch or a pass for? So snap it to him and let him run.
I understand that.
Yeah. So a lot of these guys don't
Kenny
get to
Dillingham's a
develop.
genius all of a sudden because that's what they did.
Yeah. We're running out of quarterbacks. The running back's pretty good. Just line him up there. Unless Scatterby just snap the ball to him.
Yeah,
don't outthink the room here.
We saw what he did. So I wonder if these kids, and using AJ as an example, has never really had to because he's been so phenomenal without having to do it.
Yep. Who was the high school kid, the first high school kid the Jazz drafted from Fresno?
Deshaun Stevenson.
Yes. And Stevenson came here, and they're like, well, his game's kind of limited. I'm like, why did his high school coach tell him anything other than take the ball to the rim?
Right, because he was powerful.
Oh, my gosh. He was awesome. He was lightning quick. He was strong.
He had a big body to begin with.
Nobody in high school was stopping him. There were no 17, 18-year-olds built to stop him. But he gets to the NBA, and all of a sudden, there's a 28-year-old built to stop you, and he's 7'2", and he's at the rim. Well, he wasn't getting a lot of that in high school.
I just wonder if you really, really work at something. I think Locke sort of says that it's not going to happen. But I wonder.
I think it's not going to happen for a lot of people. It will happen for a few. And so as long as you're the one, to that whole point about outliers, so be the one. If the Jazz choose the one, Locke's right about the trend. But if you have the one.
If they choose the one, would that be the chosen one?
Yes, that's what it would be. Okay. Yes, that's exactly it. Good point. It's exactly what you'd be, specifically.
That's a tough standard.
How many three-point shooters are great athletes? You really got me going with that.
Is that what you're looking up?
Right
Is that
now.
the latest?
That's it.
He's Al.
You can get me.
Sorsby with the computer and sports info and what have you.
Yeah.
His addiction is so strong.
If that were illegal, I'd be in real trouble right now. Hey, you only get 10 clicks a day to look stuff up.
Oh no.
We're tracking you. We got the 12-year-old lock on it. You've been at sportsstats.com 27 times today. Are you addicted? Maybe. Maybe not.
Well, come back on Monday because it's almost 10 o'clock.
To your point, there are not a lot of elite athletes on this list.
Because they had to develop their three-point shooting.
There's a ton of and you think of all these great players making threes. Yeah, but they're not making them 40% of the time. All right, DJ and PK, we're out of here. Coming up next, Scotty G and the coach, Tim Lacombe, right here on The Zone.
Thumbtack presents Tile Trouble. Every single time I use my sink, I make eye contact with the uneven grout on my kitchen backsplash. The crooked corners eye me, and I'm haunted by more tiling questions than I thought possible. What kind of pro can fix a backsplash? Can I replace one cracked tile, or should I replace them all? What if I just use Thumbtack? I can hire top-rated pros, read reviews, and compare prices with a tap, all on the app. Thumbtack knows homes. Download the app today.
Summer is all about freedom, fun, and growing up. And between the ages of 9 and 13, kids are starting to form their views about alcohol. With more independence, their still developing brains need more guidance and support than ever. That's why summer is the perfect time to stay connected and plan fun, safe family activities together. Research shows kids who spend quality time with their parents doing what they enjoy are less likely to drink underage. And when kids feel close to you, they're more likely to listen, especially when you set clear expectations. In fact, kids who drink before 15 are far more likely to struggle with alcohol later. This summer, create a no-bummer summer with fun, alcohol-free activities for your kids. Go to summer.parentsempowered.org to take a quick quiz and discover ideas tailored to your family. A little time together can make a big difference. For more information and to learn more about how to prevent underage drinking, visit parentsempowered.org.